I was Pete Cisneros while he was up at Mayo's Clinic.
How's he doing?
He's doing good. He's become a case study because they haven't got any of the.
And then his girlfriend's.
And I got injured on my leg because I hit my leg, hit one of the blockers. 10 fingers.
I'm not. I didn't, but I forgot the name.
Oh, I bet you I did that. I know. Thank you. It's good to be here. Getting there. Yeah. Getting there, babe. I do, don't I? And all the nurses I had at Surgery Care and at St. Francis, I had 2 at Surgery Care and 3 at St. Francis. They all were Butler graduates.
They were.
All of
They were all what?
Butler graduates from the nursing school.
I have to have eye surgery the 20th of November.
Cataracts.
No, they're doing the cornea where they lay back the cornea and flatten everything out and bring the cornea back, and you're supposed to be able to see better.
You have to be like this for a few days.
No, well, I don't know. I know there's only one guy in Wichita that does it.
And he's with Green Vision.
And then.
Yeah. What's his name?
Dr. Della Rosa. Dr. Wellemeyer did my cataracts, but he's only doing LASIK now. He retired or semi-retired.
And then.
I can't.
I work a little heavier. Because I was thinking the air conditioner might work a little extra today. Yeah, with cool day.
Almost more. We're gonna start wearing some thermal in here. Got some nice super thin wool.
Yeah.
I wore it to Alaska. It's like, that might be good.
Actually, I have silk underwear for.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would call our combined regular board meeting and revenue neutral rate hearing meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we go into the revenue neutral hearing, the budget hearing, I guess we've got to approve the overall agenda. I would propose that we add a discussion item. And right now we have none, so it would be Roman numeral 10A. That would be just generally to follow up on, Shelby, on the email you sent with respect to the data you're asking for, just so everybody understands. I don't know that it'll require a lot of discussion, but we'll just talk about it in the open. Would entertain a motion to that effect.
I so move that, go ahead, Shelby.
I would second.
I so move that we approve the agenda.
No, not, I'm sorry, I've got a,
Just amendment.
there's one amendment first to add a discussion item.
So move.
Second.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay,
Let Jennifer
that
figure out
passes.
how to type it up.
That passes 7-0. Do we have any other proposed changes to the agenda?
I had 2 items, but I'd mostly like to just talk about them at the work session, but I've got to make a motion so I can talk about it. So I move to add a board discussion item. It would be, I guess, 10-2, just regarding the board's affirmation of service and good practice and pledge. Do we
What
need to
now?
discuss it tonight, the
Oh,
thing that I gave you all? I'm happy to discuss it at the work session. Nobody wants to second it tonight. I just,
I'll second it.
You want to add, do you have a second item as well? Do we want to just combine them both or do them
yeah, I'd
separate?
also like to just discuss future possible mask policies before we have to worry about it later.
So that'd be 10C.
That'd be Tennessee, yeah. 10-3. However you do it.
I so move that we approve the three change or amendments to the agenda,
Well, we have to first vote on the,
each one.
yeah, well, I think we can vote on combined or Julie, is your second good for Shelby's
All of
set
them.
for both of them?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, I guess, approve the amendments that Shelby's proposed.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes,
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes,
trustee Smith.
Yes.
okay, that passes 7-0. Any other proposed amendments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
and I'll second.
Okay,
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
yes,
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes,
trustee Smith.
Yes.
okay, that also passes 7-0. Thanks, everybody. We will move on to the combined revenue neutral rate hearing and public budget hearing. There is make my announcement here. I declare the public hearing for the proposed 2023-2024 Butler Community College budget now open. The purpose of this hearing is to hear and answer objections of taxpayers relating to the proposed budget and consider amendments to the proposed budget as required by KSA 79-2929 and to consider exceeding the revenue neutral rate as required by KSA 79-2988 sub B sub 3. The budget hearing is being held in conjunction with the revenue neutral rate hearing as authorized by KSA 79-2988 sub B sub 3. I'm Forrest Rhodes, Chair of the Board. Seated with me around the table are Trustee Good, Trustee Brungard, Trustee Jolly, Trustee Winslow, Trustee Shear, and Trustee Smith, as well as President Dr. Kim Kroll and Executive Assistant and Clerk to the Board Jennifer Hartman Weiss. Hartman-Weiss. Sorry about that. Other Butler administrators, faculty, and staff are also present. To briefly explain the budget process, several months ago, we began with recommendations from individual department heads, which were then reviewed by our budget officers and senior administrators. In conjunction with parameters set by the Board of Trustees, the administration developed a budget recommendation that was presented to the trustees. At its regular meeting on August 8th, the Board of Trustees passed the notice of hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate and budget hearing for the 2023-2024 budget. This notice set the maximum expenditure budget by fund at $89,778,720 and the maximum amount of tax to be levied at $12,928,138. The estimated mill levy rate for the proposed budget is 12.606 mills, which exceeds the revenue neutral rate of 12.431 mills by 0.175 mil. The proposed rate is a reduction of 1.249 mills from last year's budget. The expenditure budget provides the college with the ability to increase its operating budget to address significant unanticipated expenses. The amount of tax to be levied in the proposed budget is the same amount that was levied last year. The notice was published in the college's official newspaper and on its website as required by statute, with the hearing set for 4:30 p.m. today, September 12th, 2023, in the Hubbard Welcome Center, 901 South Haverhill in El Dorado. At this time, I will open the hearing to public comment from individuals who would like to speak. We request that you hold your comments to 5 minutes. Please announce your name and address and sign the sign-in sheet, which Jennifer has. Individuals may speak again after all interested parties have spoken. The board will not take any action or participate in discussion during the public comment period. We will provide closing statements once everyone has had a chance to speak. With that, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
I have a question. What do you mean closing statements?
I think there is some language that I'm supposed to read at the end. Oh, it may just be closing the meeting, just closing the public hearing. Okay.
I can see it.
I'm sorry.
I have some comments.
Okay, yeah, please do. Please come up to the podium, please.
My name is Angie Johnston. I live at 500 Stone Lake Court in Augusta, Kansas. Today I stand before you as a taxpayer, homeowner, business owner, parent, community volunteer, and lifelong citizen of Augusta and Butler County, Kansas. I'm here to express my unwavering support for the mission of Butler Community College and to highlight the value that we, the taxpayers, receive from our mill levy investment. As we all know, Butler Community College receives just under $13 million in property taxes from the hardworking taxpayers of Butler County. Please don't misunderstand me. I, like every taxpayer, I do not enjoy writing out my checks in December and May. In fact, it wasn't so long ago that I was one that complained blindly about writing those checks and didn't truly understand the importance or impact of how those funds are used. Also, I want you to know that I sympathize, especially with our older homeowners who are bound by a fixed income. I recently attended the Kansas Housing Resource Commission's housing conference and was encouraged to hear conversations about possible legislation and creative strategies to offer some much needed relief for those senior taxpayers. I also want to be transparent and say that I believe all taxing entities have a responsibility to use those tax dollars they collect in the most impactful and meaningful ways. And I, as a school board member, want to thank you for the time and dedication you provide to serve our community and our county. The decisions you make are complex and difficult, and it's impossible to make everyone happy. So please know that even if our opinions differ, you are appreciated. Today, I want to highlight how the taxpayer investment in our college is not only beneficial, but also essential for our county and communities. My experience with this institution has been so positive in many varying ways. Most important to me personally is with my own family. I attended Butler classes as a high school student back in like 1992. And 3 of my daughters have so far as well. In fact, one of my daughters, Sophie, thanks to Early College Academy, graduated with her Butler degree before she ever finished high school. And she was in the health sciences program. Today, she's pursuing a successful career in the medical field, and I really couldn't be more proud of her. The impact it had on her and our family was immeasurable. She graduated in 2021. She's my COVID baby. And even in that crazy time, Butler emerged more prepared than most through its excellent technology transition. It was so much more seamless than the high school, the elementary school that we were experiencing. And the caring staff who provided her with support she needed to still succeed. Butler's commitment to affordability and quality education paves the way for a brighter future for generations to come. Personally, my family saved thousands of dollars when Sophie was able to finish her bachelor's degree at Newman, a private school, in just 2.5 years. You multiply that savings for other parents like me, you can see the financial benefit for so many Butler County residents and others across our state. My youngest, Emmy, will begin attending Butler next fall. Emmy was identified in 5th grade with dyslexia. And it was really late in the game. She really struggled. In 9th grade, she had a diagnosis of dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and ADHD. And she was never a behavior problem, so I never even knew how that would impact her. But I'm so excited because we're doing alternative school right now. We're in high school at Augusta a couple of days a week and doing Courage Academy a few days a week to try and just get her caught up. But next year she's going to enroll in Butler, particularly in the algebra modules, which I think is a really creative way to give kids that are going to struggle, especially in math or behind, whether it be from COVID or any other type of situation, a way to kind of get through at their own pace. So when I found out about that program, I was ecstatic as a parent, as a school board member, just to give that kind of creative option. She has dreams of becoming an elementary education teacher and also a dual degree in business because she wants to franchise Phillips Fundamental Learning Center in Wichita and across the state and hopefully nation so that she can help other kids like her. Without Butler's commitment to providing alternative learning opportunities, I'm not sure her dreams of succeeding in college could become a reality. Her journey will become a testament to the transformative power of this institution and its dedication to nurturing the potential of every student. As a community member volunteer, I volunteer for Core Communities Augusta, and I'm a board member for Bright Futures Augusta. And both of those serve individuals in poverty. They seek to better themselves through education. Poverty is obviously a serious challenge that we're faced in our communities. And through my volunteer work, I've learned a lot about poverty and those impacted by it. Poverty-stricken individuals do not have the means or resources to move beyond the walls of their communities many times. So they're here in our communities in Butler County, in Augusta, in El Dorado, wherever they are. And that's normally where they stay and where their family stays. I've been able to witness successful stories both out of core communities for adults who've successfully graduated from Butler and are now out of poverty or very, very close to being out of poverty. And I've also seen the close partnerships with like JAG-K, Bright Futures supports. Oh, I'm done. Oh, sorry. Oh, shoot. Okay.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Seeing no other interested comments. We will now close the public budget. Well, we'll close the public comment portion and move on to the approval of the budget itself.
So.
So this would be the yep. So page 4 of the board book. Do we have a motion? Well, if the will of the board is to exceed the revenue neutral rate, then we have to proceed with the motion that's set forth on page 4 of the board book. And right now, the proposal at least is a small increase in the mill, as I announced, what's about 0.16 mils. If the will of the board is not to increase the revenue neutral rate, then we don't need a resolution to say we're not doing it. We just move forward and we don't do it.
Can't just say something.
Can't, am I?
I'm gonna make a motion either way to amend or do it before to drop the taxes.
Well, that'll come second.
I mean, that'll affect the mill.
That'll be the,
That's when you.
that's going to be the
The
legal budget.
resolution.
Concerning approving the budget, this is just to approve the resolution.
The revenue
now.
neutral.
To exceed revenue.
So, Mr. Chairman, after much thought and conversations with people outside the college, I believe we need to stay at the revenue neutral rate of 12.431.
We don't, any other discussion on that point? We don't have to decide at this point about something lower, which I know Shelby, you'll want to propose
Just a
something.
tiny
lower.
bit lower, just so we don't.
This is simply, if the will of the board is to not exceed 12.431, then we don't need a resolution saying that. So does,
I want to exceed it.
does anyone then,
Straw poll here of our thoughts.
Yeah, my vote last time was to not exceed it, so I would stay in that commentary.
Yeah, I would agree.
and I share that view. Okay, then,
Dave, did you?
Yeah,
then,
I'm on board with.
okay, then we have no motion to exceed it. So I think we can move on then to page 7 of the board book, which will be approving the legal budget and the operating budget, which will include the amount of funds. Now, I guess, Kent, if you can help me on the legal budget, then what would the amount of taxes to be levied? How would that number change if we don't exceed revenue neutral?
If the board would choose to meet the revenue neutral rate, not to exceed it, but have the mill levy, the estimated mill levy be exactly what the revenue neutral rate was of 12.431, then the amount of taxes to be levied would be 12,748,659. In fact, we knew that it was possible that the revenue neutral rate or that the resolution for the revenue neutral rate would not pass. So I do have some information that would maybe help you see what it would be if you wanted to stay at it. We could obviously lower it beyond this, but if you don't mind, I would pass this out.
Oh, please do.
So the amount shown here would be a motion to keep it right at the revenue neutral rate. And again, if you wanted to lower it farther, that's possible.
Okay, with that information, would entertain a motion then to approve the legal budget as proposed in the board book with the general fund, with the tax levied number modified to 12,748,659.
Mr. Chairman, I've moved that we stay at the revenue neutral rate of 12.431 with calculated tax of $12,748,659.
I would second it.
And
And
then,
I think you have to also state the total expenditure budget as part of that motion as well.
and that's not changing, correct?
That's not.
So for the total expenditure budget, it would be $89,778,720.
Okay. Julie, is your second still good on that?
Yeah, I just, that's up from 85, right? No, from 85 million.
Last year was.
Total expenditures.
I can't explain all of that during.
Yeah, I
session,
understand he
but-
explained it. I just, one of these days I'll figure out how we can keep losing students and keep increasing the
Well,
budget, but all
we-
due respect, let's just move on. with
We
this.
have a motion in a second.
Yeah.
So do we have any discussion then on, I mean, remember, the legal budget is not what we expect to spend. The legal budget is what's available, and we can't ever exceed the legal budget. It's
That's the
not,
worst
the
case
operating
scenario.
budget is what we expect our expenses and revenues to be, and that'll be a separate motion.
I just did some figuring the other day and I would move to amend the motion to levy total taxes of 12,700 people. Personally, just like a round number, and it gives us a little wiggle room in case there's too many delinquencies and we do end up exceeding revenue neutral for some crazy reason later. I guess I'm 48,659 under Mary's motion.
I would second the amendment.
I think that puts it at 12,384. No.
Any thoughts, sir? I mean, it is a relatively small, I mean, any reason why you chose that number versus, I mean, we're coming down some by
Well, I understand.
revenue neutral is already, we'll be taking in less money than we took in last year.
No, I understand. I push for a tax cut of hundreds of thousands of dollars every year and it's no different. That's why I ran to be on the board.
So I would. The dollar amount is relatively small. I get that. I would note that we are operating we have a deficit budget proposed this year. And we have additional cash reserves that should be able to cover that, but reducing the amount of taxes doesn't just affect us this year. It also affects what we take in next year and year after that and year after that and year after that. So
I understand, but also I understand we're spending much more money than I think we need to this year along the 6% raises. locker rooms and buying the culinary instead of leasing it. And we're also paying another $425,000 in advertising. I don't think it's being well spent. So if we're willing to just spend and spend and spend and spend and spend, but it would never make a cut, that's kind of the point of thing.
I would agree with Shelby's comments in the fact that we are so down in enrollment. And I am just wondering when those resources are going to start leveling out a little bit.
The decrease he's proposing is 0.003%, which is honestly just nominal, but I think it's just more this notion of, and I know Linda and I've talked, or we've talked about, the board's talked about it. It's just, I'm struggling to find like just a solid path forward with just the environment. And it's not just Butler. I've talked about this before, but the environment statewide. And I was at a roundtable discussion with politicians on Friday that I was invited to, and spoke with a school board member in Andover, and they've seen a big decrease in students post-COVID that haven't come back. And there's just, to me, there's a mindset change both in students and parents. And there's just a lot of things. 50,000's almost just kind of a, to me, just this notion of, can we at least start thinking about bigger picture, how to handle the consistent declines, because we had another 2% this year, so that we keep this organization sustainable and as a positive thing in the community. So my vote, or my second to that motion, is just like an alert saying, I truly don't know what the answer is just yet. I've been on here a year and a half, and I don't feel like I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the information, but it's just logically, things don't add up. As far as enrollment goes down, we keep the budget the same, or we spend the same or more, and it just logically, as a business owner, doesn't make sense. So that's my justification. People can agree or disagree.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, for those people wanting in the meeting because they're here. for
Recognition.
Oh, that's it.
And I
Okay.
didn't do this 5 seconds ago just to spite Kent. I had no idea there was going to be another proposal. This is just what I came up with. It's always people are like, what's the tax in Butler? It's like, well, it's 12,928,138. It's like, okay, but I just came up with 12,700. It's easy, it's clean, and it gets us just barely under the revenue neutral rate in case there is some accounting shenanigans versus tax collection. It's just, I know it could move and it will move, and it won't necessarily be exactly that.
Any other comments?
Well, I mean, the 48,000 is little, but I also kind of go with what, what Kent has worked up and for a long time. And so I don't understand just cutting $48,659 just to cut an additional $49,000. I mean, yeah, it makes a difference, 0.003. That's not even going to be $1 on your taxes. I don't know. I would rather go with this than anything else.
I won't be supporting the amendment.
Yeah, I wish we knew more about our state funding, because I'm hesitant to want to reduce. We will not be able to raise the mill. I mean, that would be so toxic to try to raise it. So the more we reduce it, what we might face next year in 2 years when we're in a bind. And what if we don't get the state funding like we've had last year and this year? There's no guarantee that the state's going to fund us appropriately. They haven't for 20 years. They finally did, but there's no guarantee that's going to continue. So I share Linda's view. I appreciate that the amount is nominal, but I don't support it just to give us an even number on a balance sheet.
This will go to make my point that no matter how small the tax cut is, you guys are unwilling to do it. No matter how large the expenditure is presented by the administration, we have to do it because it was presented to us. That's exactly the point I'm making.
What's not true? We did approve, we just did cut the taxes. We reduced what administration proposed
You're
originally.
unwilling to move 48, and what you're getting ready to also ask for, we're not contractually obligated to give 399 grand to Andover. We're being asked to by the administration. I think we're contractually obligated to give like 110 grand. So we're gonna give them $290,000 just to be nice.
Let's talk about
Okay.
that. We're,
Right, I know.
We'll
but
have
this
time
is-
for that.
This is the point of the meeting. We're gonna be unwilling to cut a little bit. Totally willing to spend a lot. We have 28 million in the bank. While talking out of both sides of our mouth, like, oh, we can't possibly afford less as we spend lots and lots more. To me, it's a nonsensical argument, because money you don't spend is also money you don't have to collect. So,
One of the things I'd like to comment on is, while I appreciate Forrest's comments regarding deficit, it wouldn't really be a deficit that he would have to talk about if we did proper planning as far as reducing our resources along with any enrollment fluctuations. If they go up, we need more resources. If it goes down, then we need to decrease them. That's all there is to it. And I think that's where Shelby's at, and that's where I'm at. So to say deficit, I'm not really sure that isn't how I would word it. No. We just have an administration, in my opinion, that has been really hesitant to grit their teeth and make the changes we need to make. So, okay, that's the end of my comments.
any other comments?
That 48,000 would be another instructor.
okay, so with the $290,000 would be mileage. I mean, where do we stop? The $775,000 to the culinary building instead of keeping it in savings, leasing it for $20,000 a year is $750,000. I'm just happy to take the vote either way, let it shake out. I'm not gonna get on the soapbox. That's what I do every year. But I even asked last month, like, hey, let's not increase the marketing budget, $425,000 again. Let's take that money and use it for some specialists to get people out of the funnel. We've got them in there apparently looking at us, but we don't have enough people to fish them out of there. How about we take some of that money that I was told I'm putting the cart before the horse? Marketing department's not in charge of getting butts and seats. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me either. Just get our name out there without attempting to get people in here to help pay our bills. So I understand that could be possibly an instructor.
Maybe we could use some of that door lock money for an instructor. Sorry, bad joke.
That was a bad joke.
Well, I don't think the dorm
Well,
Okay,
let me
that's
tell
the-
you,
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. It's not what we're talking
need door locks operated from one central area.
I'm going to call for a vote.
about. Do we, if there's no other comments, I think we can, now remember the vote right now is not to approve the number. The vote is to approve or disapprove the amendment Shelby's proposed, which is to reduce the taxes to be levied by about $49,000.
This is the number, he gave a number, 12,700,000.
Right.
This is the motion to approve the tax.
No, his motion was to amend Mary Martha's motion to approve the taxes.
Right.
To
so it
set
would
the
change
taxes
it
at
to 12
12.7 million, a mill levy rate of 12.38.
So this would change the motion.
So
And
this,
then you go,
I amended the motion. She motioned to approve. I'm
Right.
amending that motion.
yes, yeah, we
Change that.
have to vote to approve the amendment first,
Right.
and then we vote
If
on the
amendment fails,
final
we'll just
motion,
go back
on the motion,
whether it's amended or not.
Right.
So on the motion, on Shelby's motion to amend,
Trustee Good,
No,
trustee Brungart,
yes,
trustee Jolly,
No,
trustee Rhodes,
no,
trustee Winslow,
Yes,
trustee Shear,
no,
trustee Smith.
Yes.
okay, that motion fails 4-3 or 3-4, however you look at it. So we still have now the pending motion that was not amended, which would be Mary Martha's motion that Julie seconded, which would be to approve the legal budget, taxes to be levied at 12,748,659, and the overall expenditure 89,778,720. We have no other discussion. I think we can move to approve that up or down.
I won't be able to support it for everything I said there.
Trustee Good,
yes,
trustee Brungart,
no,
Trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
No.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Do,
That motion passes 4-3. So did you have a
we
comment?
feel like yeah, do you feel comfortable voting for the overall budget that includes salaries and all that?
we haven't got there. That's the next motion. And yes, I do, by the way, because the decision's already been made. The decision of what to include has already been made. So I would entertain a motion to approve the operating budget. The language that's been proposed is on page 7 of the board book. And that operating budget number has not changed by any of the other amendments.
So motion one, I move to approve the legal budget
That's what we just did.
We just did that.
Motion two.
for the operating budget.
Yes,
Okay. What are you waiting on this?
just someone to make that motion.
I thought that's what I was doing.
You started to read motion number 1.
I see.
You need to read motion 2.
I'm sorry.
What page are we on now?
Page
7.
7 still.
So I move to approve the operating budget expenditures for 2023, 2024 as presented to the Board of Trustees on August 8th, 2023 in the amount of $58,160,915.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Page 8 of the board book just contains a very summary review of the operating budget recommendation.
I would suggest that you voting on a budget that contains a 6% raise for your wife is a conflict of interest.
Your
And if you're
objection
not
is
going to
noted.
abstain on it. Make it
Next, you noted, but
in the-
you're not gonna.
Want to have it
recuse
noted
yourself.
in the minutes.
So that's fine. I appreciate that it will be noted. And no, I'm not going to recuse myself.
Can you make sure that gets in the minutes? Okay.
So the perceived, we have our thing, a perceived or potential conflict of interest can occur while there's no actual conflict of interest.
I don't see a perceived conflict when the proposal was made and approved by this board without my vote. This board, without me, approved the raises for staff. My approval or disapproval of the operating budget doesn't change what this group has already approved. There is no conflict of interest.
70% of this salary.
I'm sorry, Julie, you're mumbling. When you please speak up.
70% of the
microphone, please.
salaries.
I'm not,
Isn't 70% of that budget salaries and so forth?
I don't know what the percentage of the salary is of
I'm
the
sure
overall
he
I think
budget.
it's over that, but
I don't know
do
if that matters, but
I would like to motion to amend the budget to cap our marketing budget. I actually want to lower it by $300,000. Because I know it got approved for 365 additional last year plus 60. I couldn't find exactly in the budget, but I found Kent's thing from March 2022. There's marketing advertising for recruitment and public relations of 365.
So
And
how's
we're
that,
told
how's
hang
that
on a
germane?
second.
Let him
Hang
finish.
on a sec, Dave. Let's
Or
get
approving
the motion.
budget. So I'm asking that 300,000 come out of the budget that's currently earmarked for marketing. As a board, I believe we're in charge, we're presented a budget and we get to choose whether we want to vote for it, yes or no. This is something I think is a waste of money. We lost 2% this fall. We're 2% down from last fall after spending $425,000. I'm wanting to
Well, that's
not keep the increase of 425, but just
yes.
lower it by 300,000.
So is your proposal then to amend the number that Mary Martha proposed and just reduce it by 300,000 with the caveat that you want that 300,000 coming out of marketing? Yes. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, I don't. Kim, do you have a comment? I don't know that that's
Well,
appropriate, but reducing the
I don't-
number,
I don't understand the concept behind that, because you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy by taking hundreds of thousands of dollars out of marketing. When they are driving people to the website, they're filling the funnel, those dollars need to remain there. It's almost like you're intentionally trying to impair marketing and impair our ability to recruit students and impair our ability to try to change the enrollment pattern. That's what you're doing, Shelby.
I'm leaving the marketing budget at $125,000 more than the prior, not last year, than the year before. which is a 30, 28, 20 somewhere in there percent increase of what our budget was in 22. It almost doubled in 23. I didn't see a good result. So now I'm asking from 21 to 20 or 22 to 24. It's going to increase 25% more so. And I think that 100% increase was a waste of money. I think that's my prerogative to have a fiduciary duty to the college. That was not a good return on investment.
That is your prerogative, but the administration, you know, doesn't support that at all.
Right, but
It doesn't
me as
make
a board
sense
member,
to
I'm not
us.
obligated to do whatever the administration.
I know that.
presents me with,
She's
so-
expressing her opinion just like you expressed yours. Any,
You guys present me $60 million and I just have to say, golly gee, yes, everything, and I have no.
I think you've
I
made
have
it
an
pretty clear the last 4 years that you've not said golly gee S
No.
to anything.
Let's not get
That was a
into
bit
it.
rude. I-
Well, but I mean, you understand, I mean, you make that like, you suggest that you're being forced to approve something and you've been very clear the last 3.5 years that you speak your mind and you don't approve something if you don't agree with it.
That's the
So I
point
wouldn't
made at the
suggest
beginning of the week,
otherwise.
Beginning of the movie, everybody watching. But you're unwilling to cut 48, but happy to spend an additional 300,000 and that's. It's not apples and oranges. I think it's apples and apples. And that's the argument I'm making. And I think that is a waste of money that we need for other things. Like in this budget, there's a 5% increase for wages next year. You go down a little farther, there's another 1%. So we're looking at.
There is no budgeted money for increases next year.
Of wages. Yes, there is.
No, there is a proposal for what next year's budget might be. We're not approving.
We're approving this year's budget. the
Yes.
One, which is gonna start, that's what I mean by next year's budget. This current budget includes a 6%.
You approved an increase in wages.
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
understand.
no, you're correct.
Mr. Chairman, didn't we add 3 people to the advertising public relations department?
Well, some of those positions had been unfilled for a period of time. There was one new position that was added, but please remember that when I got here 10 years ago, there was one person in marketing. The prior administration had slashed every single staff person out of marketing and had, diminished the budget. So it's taken 10 years to reestablish and regrow the staff numbers in that marketing department to the capacity where it is currently. But based on standards of other institutions our size, they still are understaffed in marketing. So I think it's really important to understand that there was one person and there was a part-time person that was here for just a couple of months before he took another job and left Butler. So there was one person until Kelly got here a year later. Is that correct, Kelly? Yeah. And so it's taken this long to try and regrow and reestablish that marketing and college relations area.
Maybe I need to ask Shelley and she's not here, but I have a question regarding that recent budget.
Is your microphone on, Julie?
Yeah, but I'm not talking. Couple of months ago, I did ask about a recruitment that I saw on, I believe it was on LinkedIn. Anyway, one of those sites, and it was actually for an event planner in Andover to coordinate community events. And I asked then if it was hired for Andover community events. And yes, it was, but it wasn't right in LinkedIn and it was a little bit different description, but I have a copy of that description somewhere. And it specifically said for an event planning to plan community events in Andover. So my question is that what our new budget went to? Is one of those positions? No,
We didn't hire an event planner for Andover.
what did you call him? His name, let's see, Troy, is that his name?
Troy Nordman.
Uh-huh.
Troy Nordman was already on staff, if that's
But-
the person you're talking
Okay,
about.
but
Let her finish, please.
He moved into a creative position with BCTV Plus. He's helping with all of the production. Or Tyler, I'm sorry,
Mm.
Tyler, sorry, not Troy. Troy's
so
already.
somehow
he was already on staff.
the original recruitment description then changed because that's what I read. And I do have a copy of that
Well,
somewhere
you'll have to give it to me
on
so
my
we can
phone.
look at it and then we can
Well, I
talk
did.
about
I
it.
brought it to Shelley and she's like, well, sometimes LinkedIn and so forth get those wrong, but I just wondered if that position is one of the new marketing positions that is in the new budget.
No, not in Kelly's budget. It wasn't. It was,
So it's part of the increase.
It's-
It's paid for by the
It's-
increases that we've had.
no,
No. Okay.
Ken presented in March of last year was 365,000 for recruitment and public relations to the marketing department. And an additional marketing reinstate content strategist of 70 grand. That's where the board went.
Any other comment?
So that 425 was added to what was already there before. So
Yep.
I guess my question, Kim, is just like, where, from when you've been here till last year, because that was such a significant jump. I mean, what was the progression? And then, so you're saying in 20, the difference between 22 and what you're proposing in 24 would still be an increase of, 125.
25%. I didn't put a calculator on it. But it's, the budget, I think, is like 370,000 and it's gonna go up 125.
so what was it in 22?
We would have to go back and look at those numbers. We can't provide that off the top of our heads. I also can't provide the staffing changes for you off the top of my head. We'd have to go back and look at those on an annual basis.
Would
I can
Kelly
get
be
that.
able to do that?
I don't think it's fair to ask her to shoot from the hip right now and try and give you accurate numbers for the past 10 years. I think it's more appropriate. Well,
Not
because
10
we start,
years, just the last couple.
well, I think it's because people's position titles have changed and they've switched some people around. There've been people that have come and gone from college relations and marketing. I think it's fair that we could bring that information back to you at the work session if the entire board would like us to do that. But I don't really want to put Kelly on the spot right at the moment because
Any other?
Yeah, I just wondered, does the entire board have to agree that questions by individual board members?
I
Are
want some
answered
direct,
or
you know, I
not?
want some direction from the board to tell
Right.
me what we should do.
I don't care about that minutia.
Well, I
That's
think,
Dr. Kroll's area. I don't care
Happy
about
to
it.
bring
We
it
have
back.
other things to worry about.
well, and there, hang on, there is an element of gun shyness here when members of this board have taken people to task when the information they provided off the top of their head in good faith has turned out to be inaccurate in some respects. And I don't begrudge Dr. Kroll one bit for wanting to go back and make sure that she answers a question accurately. These are all issues that we've been talking about for months. The questions didn't have to wait until today in the middle of the meeting to come up, at least to expect immediate answers.
Kelly's provided two different presentations to the board on college relations and marketing. So there were opportunities within those discussions at work sessions or whenever they were to ask those questions. I'm happy to bring that information back if it's important for the board to have that information. I can bring it to the work
To
session.
clarify, the last work session, I did ask the percent increase of the budget, marketing year over year. This 23 to 22, and it was 90 some percent. And it was, the original marketing budget was under 400,000. And all I'm saying is if we go from 400,000 to 525,000, let's just ballpark it at that. That's a 31.25% increase from the prior year before the $425,000 kicked in. So it's not, I'm not cutting anything. Keeping it 30% higher than the previous year, which we approved as a board that prior year. And I'm not,
But that argument starts from the premise that the number was right to begin with. And if the
it's a number that
department
was
was
presented by the
understaffed,
administration who speaks of all their numbers are correct that we should accept. We've got a 10-year of a track record of improving the marketing department. We have a 10-year track record of losing students. And throwing double the money at it last year didn't increase our enrollment.
I think what it's worth, my position on it would be to not support the amendment or the change that you proposed, Shelby, only because I've just always learned in the business world that when you spend the most marketing when things are down, spend the most on marketing when things are down. And I don't feel like it's a bad thing to give it 2 years. I think the social media aspect of it is really, really important. And I don't know that you can get results from that immediately. I still go back to I think it's more than just a marketing thing. I think it's a big picture problem as far as sustainability of the organization. Long term, we have enough excess funds right now. We're healthy financially. So, okay, we'll spend it on marketing right now. So that's going to be my vote and my reasoning, but I still think overall, there's got to be a better plan going forward. So just my 2 cents.
any other comments?
I don't think anybody is trying to say that Kelly Sneddon is not doing a good job. I think it's more about we've got to pull back somewhere. I mean, it could be wherever, but we've got to pull back somewhere. We're just losing too much enrollment, too many hours, too many students, and yet there's such a hesitation in the whole college, and it's systemic, that says, oh, well, don't touch my budget, or no, we can't do without that, or no, we got to have this. We can't not lose this. I mean, let me just give you a quick example and then I'll stop. Okay. This community connection, really, do we need it? I mean, maybe a couple of times a year, maybe, but it's not about students. First page is about our president. And I'm not faulting her, but I'm saying that this is an example of a publication I would like to be all about the students, not maybe on the back page we could have Dr. Kroll or whatever, but I don't know. I just think this is very expensive. One of my core is going to be this week is I'd like to know what this cost, how much it costs to print, how much it costs to postage out, and how many residents in Butler County that it went to. I just think it's extravagant, but my opinion, my point is, Kim, I'm trying to say we have to start somewhere because the administration simply isn't going to. So there, I'm done.
I'll just throw one. I recognize, so this isn't specific to your point. I recognize that I know what I don't know, and I don't know marketing. And I think it is a gross injustice for us to sit here and suggest that we know how to do marketing better than people that have been trained and have been doing it for their entire careers. And that is the heart of what this discussion is about. It's individual beliefs that money should be spent elsewhere in a better place, and that I know better than you do how to do your job. And I have a real problem with that. So I can't support that amendment.
If we continue to go downward, then are we supposed to assume that it's only one area, one department, one administrator, one section of the college that's doing poorly? We have to get what the systemic issues are all about. And even though this is a marketing thing, we have to start somewhere. And there just seems to be a big hesitation. We're not involved. Every time we try to get involved, we're told, oh, we can't do that. That's the president's job. But you know what? It's not happening. It's not happening. And the one thing I don't understand, you say this is academia and you don't want to be more like a business, but maybe that's the issue. Maybe if you tried a little harder to be run like a business and less like academics normally run, maybe we would be better off. It's nice that we have all this money, but we're still taking a lot of money from our taxpayers. And even though we think maybe the state's not going to give us any, we don't know that. We don't know that at all. Well, we do have a huge bank account, and I don't understand. There are no other entities that I know of, save maybe school districts, that have that kind of cash in the bank as a reserve. Anyway. Okay.
We have
I have
no, go right ahead.
repeatedly, I've asked for us to work on something sustainable over time. We're always pointing at these K-board numbers and how Butler's down the most. If we really look at that chart, the entities that aren't down are the ones that are technical colleges. We've been given money this year to put apprenticeships in place. Instead of focusing all this effort on a gotcha, if we can find a gotcha for some department or someone, why can't we focus on doing some positive things that bring some new apprenticeships that will help our employers with trained personnel, and we've been given the money by the state to do it. Why can't we start focusing on that? We can look at all these other things, but I want to look at them as a whole. I don't want to pick and choose $300,000 here and $20,000 over here and keys. And I might mention that, yes, we have excess funds, but some of them are restricted, such as the key money could not be spent for just anything. It was for a capital improvement. So I think that we continue to tell the public we have all these excess funds without them realizing that some of them are restricted. And we can't just put them in the general budget.
What percentage would you say were restricted? I know, I agree. There are some that are restricted, but
Some,
I think it's a very small percentage.
okay.
Maybe
I'm
any,
done.
any other comments on the motion to amend, which should be the next? So hearing none, the vote is whether to approve Shelby's proposed amendment to reduce, or excuse me, to reduce the operating budget by $300,000 from what was proposed.
Specifically focused on taking the money from marketing.
Correct.
Trustee Good,
No.
trustee Brungart,
No,
trustee Jolly,
No,
trustee Rhodes,
No.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
No,
trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, that motion fails 2-5. Would, I guess we can,
we've already had the motion.
yeah, we've got a motion, so we can now vote the underlying motion, which was to approve the operating budget as stated in the board book as proposed.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
yes,
trustee Jolly,
yes,
trustee Rhodes,
Yes,
trustee Winslow,
That's 12,384, correct?
it's the 50,
For the
it's
whole budget.
It's
the
58,000,
operating budget.
58,000,000,
Motion 2. The dollar amount in motion 2.
Can't do it. Sorry.
trustee Shearer,
Yes,
trustee Smith.
No. Okay, that motion passes 5-2. With that, I think we can officially close the budget hearing portion of tonight's meeting. So we'll adjourn that meeting and we will then now move into our regular board meeting and start with recognitions. And Dr. Kroll, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay. I think the volleyball team's coming in here. I'm going to sit at this microphone. So you guys can stand there and I want to say that in your board book, the Butler volleyball team, 2023 Butler volleyball team has received recognition from the United States Marine Corps and American Volleyball Coaches Association. They received again this year a team academic award for their outstanding commitment to excellence, both on the court and in the classroom. This is Coach Lechtenberg's, it's this team's third award, 3 years in a row, I think exactly is what it's supposed to be. And so we want to make sure that we say thank you to the team and thank you. You guys are all sophomores, I believe, aren't you? So you were on the team last year. So we're excited to have you be recognized. The benchmark average is an average 3.3 GPA for the year. And you'll note a little bit further down on the recognitions that they also, the volleyball team last year also received an NJCAA academic team nomination for their overall grade point average. So this is not only a testament to outstanding volleyball players, but it's to great coaches as well. So we're proud of our coaches and their leadership and mentorship. So congratulations, you guys. I'm going to give you both certificates here, okay? And then you can take it back.
and if I can add, if you go to the gym and watch them play volleyball, they play excellent volleyball. And man, that gym was full.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate it. Are you guys all playing? You're playing this year too, right? Yeah. You're playing this year. Yeah. Good deal. Thank you. We also have an award for Tyler Nordman. I don't know if Tyler's here or not, or if he's online. I don't see him. Is he out in the hallway? Okay. Okay. So Tyler's our director of creative services. He received this year national recognition from the 2-year Sports Information Directors of America for his posters, video features, and social media graphics publications. There were more than 250 entries in the contest in 7 categories with 34 garnering recognition with awards. And I think, Bill, isn't this the second year in a row that he's gotten recognition from this organization as well? So Tyler's working directly with Matt Jacobs and BC TV Plus, and doing all kinds of great things for us as well. So we want to say congratulations to Tyler. He along with College Relations and Marketing and Bill are a big part of getting Butler out in front of people. So we'll even though he's not here, we'll clap for Tyler and say thank you. Okay, thanks. Don't see Teresa Eastman. Oh, she did. Okay, thanks for the updates. So Teresa is our Director of Disability Services and ADA Compliance Officer, Section 504 Coordinator. And she, again, this year has been involved in 3 different presentations as part of the Association of Higher Education and Disabilities Conference in Portland. She presented with colleagues from Lee Carbon Community College in Pennsylvania and Collin College in Texas for a half-day pre-conference institute. And you'll see the title in your board book. Is that a reasonable accommodation supporting faculty in establishing technical standards and essential elements? And then it was also presented at the August 3rd virtual Mini Ahead conference. She teamed up with her colleagues and 2 other colleagues from Florida Atlantic University to present a general session entitled Howdy Partner, in Internal Networking to Maximize Your Office Effectiveness and Resources. She's also the co-chair, you'll see, of the Community College Knowledge and Practice Group, and served as a reviewer for this year's conference proposals. Day in and day out, you know, she's there to support our students. She helps with all of their accommodations that they need for classroom and on campus. And so we want to say, again, thank you to Teresa for not only being engaged at the national level and presenting, but she learns from those conferences and brings that information home. And she's certainly there to support folks on campus and our students. So we want to say thank you to her as well. So. We have a number of students here that attended the FBLA Collegiate National Leadership Conference. They were extremely successful at the conference this year in Atlanta. They're extremely successful every year. And some of these names you probably will recognize because these students have been here for previous meetings for recognitions as well. So all 9 students that went to national competition placed. Butler also received a 2nd place in the Outstanding Chapter Challenge. In addition, Caleb Hart was elected as the 23-24 National Vice President for Financial Development. So congratulations, Caleb, for that. That's awesome. And so their certificates, Caleb was elected as the National Vice President. He was 3rd in Hospitality Management Case Study, 5th in Business Communications. Sarah Lee Marla Casimir, is she here? There you are. I hope I didn't mess your name up too much. I apologize. She was 1st in Digital Media. Emery Nickel was 3rd in Marketing Analysis and Decision Making with Chloe E. and Lindsay Conley. Is Emery here? Lindsay. Oh, Lindsay. Okay, there's a Lindsay. Good. Chloe and I guess maybe this is again the same thing. 3rd in Marketing Analysis and Decision Making with Emery Nickel and Lindsay, and then 7th in Social Media Marketing. And then here's Lindsay's certificate. Victoria Worm was 5th in Foundations of Accounting and 7th in Future Business Executive. Matt Schultz was 9th in Business Ethics. Alexa McLeod, is that how I pronounce her name? Was 9th in Community Service Project with Mason Kane. And then Mason was the partner with Alexia. So congratulations. Did I get everybody on the list there? I think I did. Congratulations to you folks. Great job. Again, we have Janice Powell in the back row as a mentor and leader and instructor. We have Noreen Templin and we have Jared McGinley. So These folks do a great job both in the classroom and especially in mentoring and leading our great students on campus. So thank you for all the work that you do and congratulations to you students. Great job. I'm going to hand these to you and let you know. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. I don't know if we have any of the other coaches out there, but I forgot last month to make sure that we recognized, we had other teams that were recognized at the national level as academic team nominations. Volleyball team, of course, which we just announced, our softball team, our baseball team, our women's basketball team, and our women's soccer team. Were all recognized for their team GPAs, which is a significant accomplishment. So we're really proud of those students for their dedication and again, for the coaches as they set the standard for what they expect for those students in the classroom. And then I also want to say publicly, happy birthday. Julie had a birthday last week. I sent her an email.
All
but
about it.
Yeah, I know you, I think you said that last year too, that you have a tendency to forget that, but I wanted to say, make sure we said
But
happy
thank you.
birthday. So I think that's all I have.
Dr. Kroll, thank you. Separate public comment for the regular meeting. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? You certainly may.
No. That was
Always.
interesting. Yeah.
Just split it up. No, that's absolutely. Okay.
Start your
Uh,
timer so you know when it is.
Let me, so since we have a comment, we'll just read the little blurb here. The general public is welcome to address the Board of Trustees under the public comment section of the regular board meeting agenda. Public comment should be germane to the business and activities of the Board of Trustees. Personnel issues are prohibited from public comment. The board chair will ask visitors wishing to make brief comments to identify themselves and the topic they wish to address. If several members of one group or organization wish to speak to the board concerning the same item, the board chair may ask the group to identify a single spokesperson. A time limit of 5 minutes has been set for each recognized member or spokesperson of the audience to speak to the board. The board will take no action during the public comment period of the board meetings. However, it will take the matter under deliberation and if appropriate, direct the president to follow up with a written response and report at the next regular board meeting. And with that,
Okay.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I left off talking a little bit about poverty and how important it is to make sure we have a resource for those in poverty to get a good secondary education so that they can work their way out of poverty. But probably as a tax-paying homeowner and business owner, so I do own 3 businesses here in Butler County. I believe that property taxes contributed by Butler County taxpayers to support the college is not just a financial transaction, but an investment in the future of our community. The impact Butler has on our local economy cannot be understated. As an active participant in economic development in Augusta, or at least I used to be, I'm former president of Augusta Progress, Inc. I know firsthand that when we look at economic development, housing challenges, declining enrollment, and the impact those challenges have on our communities, we have to start looking not only in our backyard, but at our region as a whole. Conservatively, Butler provides $40 million of economic impact on Butler County through employee and student spending, visitors to college and events, workforce development, et cetera. If you look at the region, that number is multiplied by 10 at closer to $400 million in economic impact to the South Central Kansas region as a whole. Think about our communities within the strategic, within Butler County would suffer economically if that driver went away. I have been particularly impressed with the strategic partnerships this college has made in economic development sector of our county. Your staff is actively involved with El Dorado Inc., Augusta Progress Inc., and various chambers of commerce, just to name a few. They are a voice at that table in every one of those organizations, playing a critical role in attracting businesses, fostering innovation, creating a skilled workforce, and fueling economic advancement and benefits for all taxpayers and taxing entities. I often hear opponents of the college complaining about the college serving Sedgwick County students and that those students and families don't have to contribute as much financially to receive their education. But if you look at this on a broader scale, I think you can see that without those students and their tuition dollars, the enrollment numbers and the talents they bring to our county, it's a very difficult thing to measure in mills. Property tax mills are just one of the funding sources of the college, and yet it seems to be the largest and most politically contentious focus items of your governing body. What about the state and region's role in putting us in this position in the first place? I don't want to go negative. Instead, of constantly arguing about making cuts and lowering mills, let's focus on how we can support our college community and all of its stakeholders by maximizing the value of tuition, recognizing the very generous donors and boosters that invested over generations in our county, and by working together to make Butler the best community and technical college in our state. Through your diligent work on the board and the boards that have served before you, we are already in a very good position to make that a reality. Let's create a unique and exceptional vision for our college and develop a fiscally responsible plan to reach those goals so that the benefit to our county can never be questioned again. You all were elected to be good stewards of the taxpayers, but you were also elected to serve the college, its employees, students, and mission. The college's mission, centered on empowering students and fostering their growth, aligns perfectly with the values we hold dear in this community. I urge you to affirm your unwavering commitment to Butler's mission of preparing students for a lifetime of success with affordable and quality educational opportunities. And I want to assure you that you have the enthusiastic support of the citizens of Butler County to fund our college. And thank you for your dedication to that mission. By working together, I firmly believe we can continue to build a stronger and more vibrant future for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no other public comment. We'll move on to standing reports, student government.
We have Lillian out there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Emily. There she is.
Welcome. The whole crew. Good morning.
Hello, I'm Emily Hernandez. I am your SGA president for the school year. I will now be introducing the rest of our members. So first up, we have Vice President Corinne Lida, our Treasury and Secretary Ashanti Issa, who couldn't make it today, and our coordinators Jalen Andrews and Terry Cron. So the events that we have put on since the beginning of the semester were Welcome Week, which included Grizz Fest block party. We sponsored free popcorn and pop at our home soccer game, paint wars, and ice cream social. We also participated in the Grizzly Gold Parade. This past Friday, we had silent disco night. And this week, for Thursday, we will be doing student forum with Dr. Cole, celebrating Constitution Day and partnering with Res Life and Nancy Ham for suicide awareness training. Thank you.
Hey, where are y'all from?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm from Wichita, Kansas.
I'm from West Wichita.
All sophomores or?
Yes.
All sophomores. Welcome.
What is the silent disco?
Yes, so it was pretty much a headphone party. So yeah, instead of the loud music and the loud DJ, they got 2 MP3 lines opportunities, and then we had a live DJ that was also had them playing, and we also served pizza. There was about 100 students that participated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After we finish. Operational staff report.
I don't have much to share this month. We did not have a meeting last month due to the craziness of August. We did sponsor the welcome back tables at Andover, El Dorado, and McConnell and Rose Hill campuses, which went over well. And so our next meeting is October 12th in El Dorado. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Professional employees, Dr. Sitter.
That's the show. Sure. Sure. Do you have copies? Yeah. Do you need one? Do you have a copy? Okay.
Are there enough there? Are there three?
There are, there's enough.
Okay, one of the special honors I have every year is to announce to the board the Butler Community College Education Association scholarship recipient. This year, our scholarship recipient is Gracie Leslie. His information I've handed out to you.
Is she here?
No. Regretfully. Although you have her information in front of you, I think the quote that we have from her is worth reading aloud. I chose my major in education because I have always known that I wanted to be a teacher. Even at a young age, I loved the structure and routine of school. I loved getting to see my friends and make new ones. I loved getting to know my teachers, and I even loved the homework. I chose secondary education because I want to help teens find their passion in life and help encourage them to do their best. I also want kids to know that they have someone who believes in them and will always try to help them. I chose FCS education because there are so many different subjects in FCS. There's something for everyone. I love that I can take the curriculum, make it my own, and adjust it to help my students. If you come across Gracie, please wish her congratulations. The model for what this scholarship is all about. On the other hand, the committee tells me every year just how difficult it is to choose from the many great students that we have at Butler Community College. I would also like to add that I was informed that as of this year, our scholarship fund is endowed, which is a big deal for us. I don't, however, want to suggest that we are taking our foot off the accelerator. If anything, faculty are very keen to expand those scholarship opportunities with the help of the foundation, of course. The other thing I want to talk about before I get out of your hair is our upcoming mediation. On Friday, September 29th, the BCCEA faculty negotiators will meet with your bargaining team and the FMCS mediator. Faculty have directed us to pursue a 23-24 contract that is both fair and reasonable. And we have assured them that out of an honest and productive process, that's what we will deliver. We have promised them that their patience and the board's patience will be rewarded with a forthcoming package available for ratification by both sides. The faculty have made their wishes very clear to the team of the nature of the agreement that we are to pursue. And we look forward to working with your negotiators to achieve that package. Thank you for all you do, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you. Board Finance Committee, Mary Martha or Linda?
What's ready for you?
Okay.
I think it's on page 56, Mayor Martin.
That's what I was waiting for. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I usually direct.
No.
Yeah, 56.
After visiting with Carrie and our lovely Kent Williams, we talked about the total revenues in 2024. The variance was 34,791,155. So we're up on revenue. We did interest is going up. And so you'll see that on the, excuse me, just a second. Can I read this or not? Yes, interest is going up. So that takes care of other sources. So you'll see that in 2024, it was almost 30%, and in 2023, 17%. So that's the difference there. Other expenditures, you'll see that we are even in 2024 and 2023. Questions?
Do we know what the impact was of raising the tuition expense for out of county and then lowering it for Butler? Do we know what that overall impact was, good or bad?
We do. Jessica's going to give you a little bit of an enrollment update in my report. if that's
Okay.
Is that all right?
Perfect. No, thank you.
We don't have 20-day numbers yet. We won't have those until next week, but she's got a little bit of a overview at this point in time.
Mary Martha, thank you.
Yes.
Foundation board report, the foundation board met last month. We got our quarterly update from Bank of America on the portfolio performance. The fair market value of the foundation's endowment is 14.8 million, which is a slight increase from the last report, with a 6.4% rate of return net of fees since inception. An update on the Redler building. The contract for sale and purchase of the building has been signed by the foundation and the college. Security One Title is setting up a date for closing. The foundation board approved a 2-year contract with Blackbaud, which is the foundation's gift and prospect management system, to run target analytics on alumni and prospective donors in the area. Goal is to increase the number of alumni, prospective donors, and prospective donors who live in Butler and surrounding counties. And the board also approved the creation of a donor recognition piece, Circle of Gold recognition, which will acknowledge folks that have provided planned gifts to the foundation, both current and past. And that will be located in the foundation office downstairs. Dr. Cole.
I'll do my presence report. I also have the KACC report from the August meeting. So I'll do that one first. KACC met in Concordia at Cloud County Community College. All colleges were in attendance, represented by either their president or a trustee. We heard a presentation from 2 captains from the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department about the dangers of fentanyl and steps colleges need to have in place to potentially save the life of one of their employees or students. Having Narcan available on campus and ensuring campus security is carrying Narcan on their person were 2 suggestions. Staff training in Narcan is available to ensure each college is prepared in the event of fentanyl overdose. Had a discussion with Senate President Ty Masterson related to higher education funding, structure, and policy. Discussion was wide-ranging and covered many barriers for students in colleges. Program-to-program articulation, community colleges offering select bachelor's degrees, and ways to improve the Promise Act were discussed in addition to other legislative items. Speaker of the House, Dan Hawkins, and Senate Majority Leader Larry Alley also participated in the discussion, and all legislators expressed their appreciation for the great discussion. Tour of the Cloud County Community College Renewable Energy Programs was taken. Cloud was the first college in the U.S. to implement some specific wind energy training programs. They have significant business and industry partnerships for these programs, and their students all have jobs prior to completing their studies. Cloud trustee Bruce Graham, who started the renewable energy program. Bruce and I worked together on that. I'm proud of that. At Cloud also gave a great presentation on why renewable energy is important and the training which will be needed in the future at other renewable energy types as other renewable energy types emerge. Tour was also taken of their childcare center, highlighting how they use the center to help their early childhood students complete their training and the benefits of their center, helping with the lack of childcare in the area. Senator Elaine Bowers of Concordia and a Cloud alum was a dinner speaker, highlighting the value of community colleges to the Kansas economy and workforce. Perception survey exercise was completed and the views of presidents and trustees were discussed. Additionally, hot topics in higher education, which had been recently in the news, were discussed, which included the public perception of the value of higher education, community college students' needs for high quality customer service, return on investment for community colleges, and the legal implications to remember when utilizing certain human resources practices. An update on the Jayhawk Athletic Conference and the legislative post audit related to community college athletics was discussed. It's believed that the completed post audit will be presented to the LPA audit committee in December. And update was provided. Audit is examining where community college athletes are from and how scholarship and operations are funded. An update was provided related to the community college economic impact study. Each institution will receive their own report in addition to the statewide report. These will be completed for first review by mid-September. Work began on crafting the KACC 2024 legislative agenda, which will be approved at the December meeting. The routine business meeting was held, which included 2 key items. The yearly financial audit was completed with no findings, and the KACC officer elections will be held in December. The next meeting will be held December 1st and 2nd in Liberal at Seward County Community College. My report, I emailed to you, I believe last Friday, about the HLC webinar on the interim report that's scheduled for October 19th from 11 a.m. to noon. So registration is really easy, just your name and where you're from, I think, basically.
Mhm, very easy.
I know that I've registered. I think Phil has, Linda has, Dave has, and Forrest has, Mary Martha has. Okay. So they'll cover, kind of the logistics of monitoring reports. I've had a phone call from Sungren Realty from Joel Morris. I don't have a lot of detail, but he has a client that he's working with that's interested in finding out a little bit more about the land to the west of the 5,000 building in Andover and whether it might be available or a portion of it available for sale. I think that it's an existing business in Andover that needs to expand. I don't know the details, but I do need to know if you're interested in having me move forward just a little bit to gather more information, to identify the actual acreage that's available. I know we used some of that when we renovated the 5,000 building and did the parking lot on the west side of the building. I think there's about 15 acres left still on that west side. But if you want me to pursue some additional information for you, I'm happy to do that. We would have to, if we were going to consider some sale, we'd have to get that land reappraised. It would have to be platted separately, all those kinds of things. But I, need some direction from you folks if you want me to spend some time or have some folks spend some time moving forward with that. I told Joel that I would get back in touch with him after the meeting.
We already own that.
Yes, it's our land.
I don't see any reason not to explore and see what's available.
Okay,
I mean, I don't speak for everybody, that's just my view.
I'll get some specifics on. Jessica's got a little bit of enrollment information that she's willing to share. The Board Regents 20-day report won't be out until sometime next week. But she's got a little bit of a current review that she'll share with you.
Yes, hello. So as Dr. Kroll mentioned, I do have an enrollment update I'd like to give, and the information that I'm going to provide is a day 1 snapshot. So I've heard conversation about how we're down this fall by 2%, but I don't think that gives an accurate picture or a total picture of where we're sitting. So I wanted to give a little bit more information. So first of all, in district, so that would be Butler County, we are up 5.7% in credit hours. And international, we are up 29.7%. And out of state, we are up 3.2%. The area where we're down, unfortunately, is our in-state, which is also our out of county, which would be the Wichita metro area primarily. We are down 6.09% in that area. Also, I know I had mentioned that the in-district that we were up 5.7%. And I think it's worth noting that compared to last day 1, for Butler County, we are up with all Butler County students 9.5%. And when you look at just high school enrollment, we are up 4.9% in that category. So I think that there is a
a story to be told. When we look at the enrollment data, we have, something to keep in mind is 60% of our students are part-time students. We have, of course, increased living expenses, increased cost of tuition, and our tuition is higher for our out-of-district students than it is than our competitors. And as we know, we do have very high competition in the area. So I know that ESOM will be working on compiling our 20th day numbers once the time comes. But that's the information that I have to share this evening.
Go ahead, Sean. I said question. The in-district, does that include the prison program?
It does.
Do we have a means? I know we've talked in the past generally about the tuition rates of other institutions, and my recollection is we have a hard time pinning down what issue Tech's rate is because they don't announce it the same way that we announce ours. Do we have a means of devising kind of what their average rate is compared to ours, so we know where we sit compared to them?
We know where we sit for gen eds. They have differential tuition. So they charge one rate for their general education courses, which is about $6 less than what we charge. And we don't have differential tuition. So we would charge the same rate, whether it's a technical course or a gen ed.
Are their technical courses then more expensive than the gen ed?
Yes, significantly more expensive.
Including, I guess maybe technical wasn't the right, is when I say technical, is that courses we don't offer? Or is that just courses beyond the, maybe how do you define gen ed?
So gen ed would be things like math, English, psychology, those types of things. Technical courses would be things such as welding, very, program specific type courses.
Okay.
And we have similar programs, but not all the same.
We know, I mean, these are all percentages, but what this looks like in total dollars, was the increase in the three categories enough to offset the decrease on the in-state? Do we know those numbers?
Let us go back and maybe what we should do is calculate those when we have the 20-day, the certified numbers rather than right now, because these are still day one numbers.
Right.
We
Right.
typically have, well, excuse me, have about, we usually have somewhere around a 1%, maybe 1.5% flux in enrollments between day one and the 20th day. So let us bring those numbers back when we have our 20-day certified numbers, if that's okay.
And one other thing I might add too is the percentages that I gave you is based on credit hour percentages. However, if we look at our head count difference, we're only down about 0.7%. So students are taking fewer credit hours is what it appears.
Is that across the board, or is that just the out of in-state out of?
That's the overall.
And what do you think? Hang on here, I have to remember what I was going to say. Why do you think there are more students doing part-time?
Well, we've always had a high percentage of part-time students, but I would imagine a lot of it has to do with cost and increased cost of just things in general. But it's hard to say.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jessica. Couple more things from me. And Julie had asked at the work session about the college charter, the original college charter. Well, that charter was for El Dorado Junior College.
Right.
We don't exist any longer. We're Butler Community College. We don't exactly know where the charter is. We think it's in a box. There were boxes that went to the salt mines a few years ago. And so we have those boxes back now, but we haven't been able to get through all of them. We will look for it, but it's our folks were trying to get classes started. So those state statutes changed in the 60s, and we're community college now. So and then watch for well, let me back up just a second. A couple of years ago during the election cycle, there was a lot of conversation in the community chamber, different meetings that we were at, that there really wasn't information out available on the candidates that were running. the Butler Times Gazette did, I think, an article on the Augusta School Board candidates at that time, but there really wasn't any information about the county commissioners or Butler trustees or anything like that. And so we sort of resurrected that thought a little bit ago. And so I got a hold of Amy Chastain from the Lantern newspaper. And they would like to provide some information in one of the next publications, either in September or October, on the candidates that are all running for trustee positions. And so watch for an email from Baylor Henry. She's the one that's going to write the article and we'll do the interview, but she will be getting a hold of you folks that are Butler trustees now. She'll be getting a hold of you through your Butler email addresses, because I didn't want to give them, your personal email addresses, but watch for an email from her, Baylor Henry, and she will, I don't know whether she will send you questions or try to sit down and have, a cup of coffee with you or something like that. But the students and the staff on the newspaper are all developing the questions. I think they want a little bit of background information on the candidates that are running, and so I'm not sure what else they'll ask you, but they're also going to she's also going to get a hold of the folks that currently aren't trustees and try and visit with them too. So I just wanted to give you a heads up to watch, and I would guess that email will come from her sometime in the next few days, probably. Okay. I think that's what I have. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Kroll, thank you.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the monitoring report,
We got one more on the E EFAB.
oh, I'm sorry.
We're meeting tomorrow morning.
Well, good. Thank you.
Need your
Thank you.
report,
Okay.
and I won't be there.
And I will.
Well, we'll look forward to a report then at the October meeting. So before we go into the monitoring report, Julie had expressed an interest in having Ray Cannell available for questions during our discussion of the Yorktown Road Commerce Street development.
Is
He
that where
has-
the questions were? Was Yorktown?
Yeah, I guess he is available, but only until 6:30. So we can leave the order as is, and this, which probably means he is not going to be available by the time we get to that item, depending on how much time we spend on the others. Or we can jump that board action item 11A to talk about it right now while Ray is available. And if we want to have questions, we could even, to keep the agenda straight, we can have the questions now and then hold the vote on the issue until we get to it in order, but at least have the discussion of that topic right now. Any problem with that?
I'm going to recuse myself. That's not
Okay.
part of the discussion.
Okay. Do you want to explain, Kim, on the record why you're doing it, just so that we have the way that memory knows?
Okay, so this involves a condemnation that I've been appointed on the condemnation panel by the judge. So I don't want to have any appearance of conflict of interest, because I'm going to be on the panel that gives the award, basically saying what the governing body has to pay to the landowners. And that includes what Butler will have to potentially pay, depending on what you guys decide with this vote. So I just don't want to have any kind of, crossing over of information.
Is Ray?
Thanks, Kim.
Yes, thank you. Is Ray already on?
Yes, I think that's his phone.
That's
that
my
shows
phone.
Ray. Good.
Where-
Hi, Ray.
where- Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, I've been on since 4:30, so I'm ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the first question?
Been on the clock since 4:30.
What are your questions, Julie? You were the one that specifically had questions, so. Shelby, if you want to go.
I've got a couple while Julie's looking.
I know.
What I read through this is Shelby Smith, through the existing contract, it looked like Butler agreed 4 years ago to pay roughly $1.1 million for the road. And then Forrest asked the question at the last meeting, there was like a 10%, inflation that we would have to pay if prices went up. And near as I can tell in our contract, that's all we're contractually obligated to pay is the 1.1 plus 10%. And I want to know if that's true or not.
It is true.
Okay, and then the city is asking us to pay $399,000, which I don't believe that we're obligated by law or by our contract to pay the additional, say, 290 grand. I want to
That's
know if
correct
that is.
also.
Okay. That's basically the questions I had, just, we signed a contract 4 years ago. I know there's been some inflation costs and yada, yada, yada. I just want to know what we're obligated to pay. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Those
You're
were
welcome.
my questions.
Okay, glad to help.
And that's what the city of Andover did state at the last work session. They said the same thing, but it's always good to have a second opinion.
So Forrest, do you need me anymore?
Any other? I don't see any other questions, Ray. Thank you thanks for hanging out and being available.
You're welcome. Glad to help anytime.
Thank you, Ray.
Good night.
Okay, well, that we'll kind of move back onto the agenda with the monitoring report for athletics.
Somebody want to retreat?
Oh,
Oh. Got the ice box open again. And then she'll have to, she'll probably get up and clean herself again. That's why.
oh. They got dessert this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking my language. We'll wait for Dr. Wait for Dr. Cole to come back.
Now you've got us to where we're.
I know, sorry.
She sounds sorry, doesn't she?
Your stomach had a conflict of interest.
Right.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michaela Sirios. I am our Associate Athletic Director, for those who do not know me. I also want to introduce Trey Burnett. In the back there is our new Director of Sports Information in the Athletic Department. You guys have our handouts. I'll keep it short and sweet. The only thing I did want to touch on that is left blank in your handouts is our head baseball coach. BJ McVeigh, who was here for nearly 20 years, has retired. And we just named Tyrese as our new head baseball coach for Butler Baseball. So we're really excited about that. Only other thing I wanted to throw out there is if you're watching Sunday Night Football, got another shout out for 3 years in a row by our very own DeMarcus Lawrence. So
That's great.
yes, very cool. So any questions?
That was shared on social media I saw
Yep.
4 different people in my stream that shared that.
Immediately.
Shot, so.
Yep, we all have group messages going on. We all immediately texted each other too. So
I texted Dr. Kroll.
it happened.
I wasn't watching. Well, I was driving home at the time, so.
I think
Yeah,
this
whatever.
community service outreach that the teams do is so important to our community. So
Very,
keep it up.
very, they've been going strong at it this year already. So
That's great. Thank you.
yes. Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into the strategic discussion items that we added to the agenda tonight. The first being, I guess, a clarification for Dr. Kroll on what Shelby, your emails from, I think it was last night. Concerning information. So I'll let, I guess, Dr. Kroll, if you have questions, or Shelby, if you want to clarify, whichever's
I
easiest.
brought a copy of your email, so I would remember. You
Yeah,
probably
I-
have it in front of you, so.
I've got really tiny on my iPhone. I'm more or less just asking for 20-day numbers, fill rates in classes in Andover and El Dorado and Satellite. When we did that Forvis data, it looked like we went from average class size in 2019 of 14 people. Now we're average class size overall of 13. With all of our expenses being so high, the teachers, buildings, deferred maintenance, everything, I just want to see the numbers of class fill. Are there places where we can combine and get more students in the class? I mean, I know the data is going to be provided, and I'm not asking for special reports. So I'm just asking, as it's provided to you and your team, then to be forwarded on to the trustees.
So let me start with the first one where you're talking about the 20th day numbers and the provide report. I'll just kind of go in order. That provide, I don't know when the provide report will be available. Will it be? Okay, so we can get that to you. And then you also ask at the October board meeting or work session, somebody to present and go through that and we can.
I was just asking to talk about it a
Yeah.
month from now.
So the fill ratios, what you're asking for, 16-week classes for the last 5 falls and 5 springs. You would want to show the unique courses and unique locations. So does that mean the individual courses and the individual locations?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to what we did with the quickie look at the BKD Forbes data that showed, you know, like Andover, Classville is 11. That was just overall.
So because you say in here, for instance, I'm wanting to know English 1 in each location and the number of students in each class. So that says to me, individual classes that you're going to get.
Don't point me at Forbes.
You're going to get a ton of data. How many? I mean, what do we have? We offer 1,000 courses. Yeah, so you're going to get numbers for those individual.
If you guys look at it as on your team, I would like to see the same information.
Well, we can send you
I can
we
come in and look at BKD also. I just don't have.
can send you DAR reports. If that's what the vice president and the deans look at for class fill ratios.
It's just what I said earlier. I think we need to somehow approach being more efficient on. Not every class here, because there's obviously gonna be some that have 2 or 3 that are specialized, and there's gonna be some that have 12, 11, 13 that we could combine in the classes of 30, like say for chemistry or something. For example, we could do, or something
But
that could be done,
that's
I
what they
think.
do. That's
I
what they
know,
do.
but as a board, I would like to be involved and see that. I'm not asking to sit in on your private meetings, but it would give me good questions to ask if I can see these numbers.
Yeah,
It's a very similar ask to what I made last year.
we can send you DAR reports. And then the 20th day numbers after those are certified,
Sure.
we'll send that information to you.
I just think last year I went and asked about it now, and then some in October, and then I finally saw everything in November. Not that we can make any decisions that are gonna affect anything on October, but I'd rather see the data sooner than later, and then if we have any questions, we can follow up at work sessions and whatnot.
So to make sure everybody's on the same page, we're not asking for any reports to be created. It's going to
No,
be
I
just
don't want any
copies of the
extra
reports that are otherwise distributed internally.
I just like to look at them as they're available.
Okay.
Without, and I don't know how to specifically ask for things. That's as broad as I could make it to say, show me the data.
Okay. Easy enough. Does that address that issue then?
I think so.
Okay. Moving on to Shelby, you wanted to just touch base on the affirmation of service. I mean, I think the idea of, you sort of floated the idea of setting it up for the work session.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we talk about it at next month's work session.
Yeah,
We have
and
it done before January, February.
well, it needs to be, it needs to be discussed at, in depth, because that's a part of what has to be documented and used as evidence in the monitoring report that gets submitted the first part of
We
January.
have done other things that would satisfy it, as the Linda Jolly's amendment to the board bylaw. That's one thing that counts as modifying our bylaws and addressing HLC board governance issues. The complaints from.
I mean, I'd be
I think
interested in
yeah.
Dr. Spiri's view. My thought is this group needs to be in consensus of the substance of the report no later than probably the November board meeting.
I don't think that it needs to be a huge report, as long as we sign this and say, these are the 3 other things we have done.
Well, I would,
No,
my only point was, I don't think we can, even though it may not be due until February, I don't think we can wait until
Right.
the month that it's due to decide what we're going to include.
Right. That's why I asked to bring it up tonight, just to make sure we're getting on.
I think it does have to be more comprehensive than what you're talking about. And if you look at if you look at information on that email that I sent you about the monitoring report, it talks about the component pieces that will have to be part of the monitoring report. Phil, you can come up to the microphone if you want to, but it's not just a simple 3 pieces of paper that you email in and let them look at. It has to be more comprehensive than that. Can't be any longer than 7 pages, but you have to write narrative and explain what the issues were that the site team reported and then provide documented evidence and discussion about how those have been addressed. So Phil, you. have
That's
plenty of experience.
basically what I would say, that it will need to be structured so that it will intentionally address the major issues that the evaluation team observed. You certainly don't have to agree with them, but you need to respond to the issues that they encountered, and you need to structure your course of action immediately and also in the future. So it's something that I have anticipated that we would probably talk about specifically at a work session.
Okay.
And they pretty much give those parameters at the end of the report. These are the boom, boom, boom you need to do, which we talked with Gordon Kirkner about that last meeting, and it seemed like they were pretty much on the same page.
We have had some conversation with afterwards and he did indicate, I mean, he was answering your questions, but did indicate that it has to be more comprehensive than what.
I understand. We don't have to write a 5,000
No,
word report and dance, monkey dance. And this is what we've done. This is how we've resolved it. This is in addition to our standards of good practice. Here you go.
well, and referencing your subsequent minutes and that sort of thing. I mean, it's kind of standard documentation of what your process is.
Oh, I get it. It's just.
Yeah.
The October work session will follow that webinar on the 19th. And so, that'll be a valuable opportunity to kind of understand from HLC people what component parts need to be included for that monitoring report. So I think that'll be effective because the work session will follow that, like that next week, I think, or something.
If you guys want me to write up a rough draft of, we can send it off and say, is this what you're thinking of? Minus some additional details.
I don't, did they give us?
No.
They don't proof the draft. for
Go
us, do
for
they?
it.
They can't tell us what to say. We've changed our board bylaws. We had a censure vote on Julie, a censure vote on Forrest. We're looking at amending our service and good practice. We've done 4 or 5, a couple other things besides that we can look up and.
I don't
say,
know
this is
that-
what we've done.
I don't know that telling them what they already knew we did is going to satisfy the problem.
They mentioned some stuff in the report that wasn't entirely accurate. Maybe they didn't know that we had already done some of that stuff.
Well, and you'll want to, in those instances, clarify what's actually have been done because, you want to clarify their perceptions.
Right, but what they asked out of us was a pretty simple ask. We just. I have that. This one. But it seemed fairly simple to satisfy what we need to do. I think if we, I don't see the harm in making a rough draft and say this is what you're looking for. You want some more information, let us know, and then we can get it knocked out and be done with it.
Well, but I would also say then, since they've offered a webinar to direct people in terms of a successful monitoring report, that should inform what you try to do.
Okay, well, we can wait till then.
Yeah. Yeah, because that will make a draft more effective. I also recall that Dr. Bordenkircher offered to look at I guess I would say a possible draft, because he's not directly involved with the acceptance of the monitoring report. So as our staff liaison, like he would assist with the accreditation document, he would be willing to look at what's been written and give comments.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah.
Dr. Kroll, you said that there's going to be a work session after the webinar on the 19th.
Well, I mean, it'll be the last Monday of the month. That's what I meant. It follows.
Fourth one.
The 19th is
sorry.
on a Thursday.
Yeah, and the October work session would be
The
the
23rd.
23rd.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or is that the Monday?
21st, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever the Monday is,
And I will need a reminder
23rd.
a month from now about that work session.
Oh, it's right there.
or and the video.
I-
No, I know, I'm just saying,
I think I sent the, or
you
It's
did, it's just
last Friday.
sometimes, even when my wife talks to me and she starts giving me all the data, I turned out the date, tune out the dates and.
Okay.
I was told, but I don't remember.
So we'll move on then. Shelby, you asked for an item on mask policies. Did you have some commentary on that?
Yeah, I would just like to say, hey, as a college, we're not gonna mandate masks. If you want to wear a mask, fine. Something we're not gonna require this year, and it would just clear up any ambiguity of people worrying about it.
Oh, you said mask,
Mask, what'd you hear?
math.
Mask.
I'm trying to figure out what
The math is, and I,
That might be the key to increasing enrollment. Yeah, people, they don't have to take math classes anymore.
You wanna do math, you can. If you don't, no big deal. That'd be a great one.
I even wrote down math.
I know you guys have told me before that it's not a board issue, that's an administration, blah, blah, blah.
well, when we did this before, it was partly at the recommendation of faculty and staff. They're the ones that are in the classrooms with the students. The staff are front facing in admissions and advising. And so it was important college-wide to provide that sense of, I think, security for our employees and for our students. We had almost zero complaints about wearing masks from our students and staff. When we came back in the fall of 2020, there really relatively were no issues with it at all. Now there might be, but I would say to the board that I think that it's important from an operational perspective, if we get to that point again, it's critical that we listen to our faculty and staff about what their needs are, because they're the ones that are in, front facing with the students. So that would be my recommendation, is that we pay close attention to what our employees are asking us to do.
I would just ask if it's important to you to wear a mask, wear your mask. No one's gonna discriminate against you in any way, but you can't ask a teacher that just feels uncomfortable to force students wear ineffective masks just to make them feel good, because they don't work to stop the virus, and the science is out and all the studies are done now. And we just had a policy beforehand, like, be laissez-faire on masks. If you want to wear them, fine. If not, don't. That's our policy driving on. People wouldn't have to worry about, what am I gonna do in November if there's another blah, blah, blah variant? People
Oh, there will be.
wear
It's
masks.
election year.
Then you got Trump running around like a crazy man, like, if anybody mandates masks, I'm gonna take away their money. It's like, okay, I don't know if he's gonna get elected, but I mean, that's something to think about. If you mandate something and something's threatening to take your financial dollars over on something that's ineffective anyway. And if we get voted down, I don't care. That's my opinion. I wear respirators all the time. I wore a mask. I worked 7 hours in a row today because I was scraping a little paint on the ceiling above my head. That's perfectly fine for what it's intended.
Any other comments? I think it's a
I-
discussion for another day for me. It's not an issue right
Yeah,
now, so
yeah. I would just like to be proactive on our policy.
Kim, did you start? I cut you off.
Yeah, I was one of those people that just was, my day-to-day just never stopped when COVID hit. I had to go in and out of houses like I always did. And if the property owner wanted me to wear one, I actually just never really gave anybody the option to tell me, if I'm being quite honest. And it was, it was just always a big frustration to me. So I agree with, I guess the thing is, no, nobody's really talking about it just yet, but it is starting to get tossed around in other areas of the country. And I just think our freedoms are just really, really important. And the freedom for anybody to choose if they want to wear one to feel comfortable needs to be protected as much as the freedom of the person who doesn't. And so I would agree with that stance. So it seems premature because it's not a hot topic right now, but I think there is value in not having to toss around a hot potato when tensions are high with regard to it too.
Maybe what we need to establish is a general agreement amongst us that the board will decide this. Based on input from teachers and staff and so forth, that it will be a board decision. That way, all members have a vote.
I would hate to see that happen, a board decision. I think it really should be staff and faculty and students.
It
who
just didn't
decide.
get us anywhere last time though, Mary, if you remember the issues that we had with people showing up that couldn't speak and so forth and so on.
entirely
It's
different. Are you talking about masks for nursing?
Ugh,
Talking about,
I'm talking about mass and
I know, it's different than what those meeting issues.
Well, like,
But-
even when we were mandated it as a board to be here, you took yours off immediately because it was hard to breathe. That first meeting, like, oh yeah, but it's hard to breathe. And I wore the stupid,
Fishnet.
no, it wasn't.
I
fishnet.
remember that one, Shelby.
That's for the bedroom at night. It was cheesecloth. It was cheesecloth or tulle cloth.
No, it was fishnet.
Not fishnet. Fishnet
It
got
was.
bigger. It was-
I might have a picture of
It
it.
was tulle.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So our board action item, we'll circle back around to the Yorktown Road and Commerce Street development. This is at page 15 of the board book. So,
Bye again.
oh, sorry, yes. So we had some questions with Ray before, I guess to get things started would entertain a motion. The recommended action on page 16 would be to approve the updated petitions. The language is there, would entertain that motion if someone would like to make it.
And I would just like to clarify before somebody said that, our attorney just told us we're not obligated to spend an additional $290,000. The administration is asking us just to spend it, to spend goodwill in Andover, I don't know. We have a building in Andover, building in El Dorado, and Augusta, we don't have anything. We're just handing Andover $290,000. After the mayor was very gruff with us last month, telling us how students in Butler don't spend any money on Andover Road. Pretty much not thanking us for being in his town at all. And then been in this over a barrel for 290 grand. That strikes me as very wrong.
Let's get we're gonna have a motion. Let's get a motion and
And then just-
we'll have time for discussion.
I'll make my motion. I move to approve the contract plus the 10% we're obligated to pay contractually for our agreement from 4 years ago. To just simply satisfy what we.
Well, that's not doing anything. That happens. I mean, that we're already committed to that. I don't think we need board action to do what we're already
we
committed.
do because what he's trying to do is make a new motion instead of just
I just
handing
move
over
that
the
we
money.
Only approve what we are contractually obligated to approve. Not the additional 399,000 that we're being asked to approve.
Okay.
But the
So-
10% instead.
So the people of Andover will be paying the rest of our bill.
They,
It's the
they would pay the extra. Yes,
This is
that's
the
correct.
people in Andover who chose to build the road. Who came to us with that contract, who have waited 4 years to get it done. Construction didn't stop during COVID on construction. We worked every single day. It's not. We signed this actually, they put us in a position to have to sign a contract. To getting kicked out of the school to get there, and as a condition of temporary occupancy. You have to approve $1.1 million for these two roads to nowhere that some of the trustees didn't like. Which we did with the clause that could inflate 10%. Now here we are 4 years later and they want 36% more.
Do we have a second to Shelby's motion?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay,
Now I would like to say expenses, daily living, everything has inflated since then.
Right, but we're not obligated to give them $290,000 out of our savings. We're under no obligation to do that legally. I mean, we're not giving City of Augusta $290 million. Or Leon or Douglas, or, I mean, we're giving City of Andover $290,000 more than we need to. Just because we're being asked.
Since we've had a motion and a second, I feel free to discuss, and I don't know, Mary Martha, if you were present or if you heard it on Zoom as far as the presentation, but the mayor did say that their college was no benefit as far as the traffic up and down that road, which I was really pretty appalled at that, but needless to say, the college actually went and tried to take Andover to court when this originally happened. And the judge just threw it out and said, you know, settle this amongst yourselves. And apparently the college just capitulated and said, you know, we'll go ahead and do this percent. Now, look, I grew up in Andover and I want Andover to succeed. I love the college campus there. I want them to continue. My problem is that we were previously obligated as a board to commit to this. So we have to honor that agreement. And I am willing to do that because otherwise it would be a breach of contract, which then would net us a lot of issues. But I'm not for giving them any more than the contract specifically asked for. That's why I asked for Ray to be here, our counsel, our legal counsel. I'm willing to go the 10% because that was contractually started, but not the other. And it's nothing against Andover. It's the fact that when the arena was built here, you know, the county was asked to go ahead and contribute. And this county said, no, we can't ask the taxpayers all over the county to contribute that. So
What arena are you talking
your
about?
BCC, what do you call it? The football stadium here. Yeah, the stadium. When that was asked to be built, and you know, look, I like Andover. I do much of my business there, but the college does benefit Andover, and I'm happy about that. And while I was buying a shirt or two or some trinkets in the store during enrollment, I talked to some students who were enrolling that are from Mulvane, and they're going all the way to Andover for those dual credit classes, which that's great. I'm glad that we have people coming. That's not my issue. My issue is it's a road just for Andover. We're already legally obligated to pay the percentage originally agreed upon and no more. This day and time, I just don't think it's the right move to make in this climate. That's all. It's not personal. It's just business.
I represent District 1. Andover's in District 1.
As
I
well.
don't want to ask the Andover residents to pay this on their own. I would rather that it be spread across the county. That happens many times. I wasn't there when we agreed to the initial agreement, but I am aware of all the things that have happened since 2019. And so I'm not surprised that the costs are more. I do have some questions about the long-term financing that we'll ask Andover when the time comes, but I'm going to support the Andover residents that are in my district and not ask them to pay more.
You're asking people in my district.
Not much.
Well, I need to do a rebuttal here because I represent Andover District as well.
Let others, if anybody else has comments, anybody else want to?
This is the point I made at the beginning of the meeting. You guys are unwilling to give the taxpayers back $48,000. Oh, $290,000 to Ronnie Price and Andover. Here you go. And it's coming from the taxpayers. I mean, we're 2/3 funded by the taxpayers. And if you add grants and everything else, we're probably 90% funded by taxpayers. So just, it seems crazy to me as a businessman that we would pay 26% more than we're required, just because we're being asked. It's like the nursing program down with the Cali.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come down here and pay for all of our equipment. We're like, whoa, that's 90 grand we don't need to pay. How about you pay that 90 grand? And they're like, oh yeah, our bad, we'll pay the 90 grand. And they did. And that saved us $90,000 as an institution. I mean, I'm happy to take the vote. It'll be what it is. But if we're not required to pay it, that just seems, and our credit hours in Andover are down 46%.
Yep.
It's not our kids using that road. Behind the scenes, Ronnie Price thought it was a great idea to start texting me at 7:15 the next morning. And he reiterated that Andover kids don't spend any money. It's like, that's not true. All my kids, I've had 5 kids go there. Like, where do you go in Andover? He goes, you don't have all that data. I'm like, my daughter Mary. Donuts, Goodwill, Taco Bell, Dillon's. My son this morning, he's 16. We drove 13th Street. Like, this is all the place to eat. We go over to Dillon's and get sushi and blah, blah, blah. There is a benefit for us being in Andover. Supposedly, like the lady that spoke earlier tonight is like, hey, taxpayers pay 13 million and there's a $40 million benefit just to our county. It's like Andover gets a lot of that. Most of our teachers that actually live in Butler, maybe not most, but probably the largest group of them that live in any town live in Andover.
Mhm.
That's a big boom for Andover. If you guys want to pay extra more and above than you have to, go ahead, but
I can't.
We have a
fiscally
larger
do that.
number of our Butler staff that live in El Dorado than in Andover. And
I said teachers on my.
I'm talking about staff, which includes faculty as well. But there's
just
a
said-
larger number of them that live in the El Dorado area than live in Andover, Augusta.
But I did make my motion. If you guys want to-
I mean, my thought on this, we talk about what's obligated, and I think there's at least a worthy mention of what's right. We agreed to pay 60% of the cost. Now, that number boiled down to a specific dollar amount 4 years ago, but the underlying agreement was 60%. They're not asking us to pay more than that percentage now. That percentage is more than what it was before. We've reaped the benefit of that over the last 4 years. We were able to do the 5,000 upgrade. To say that those roads won't benefit Butler that's a foolhardy argument. We're going to get benefits from those roads, not having the only access into our property off 13th Street. Now, how do you quantify that? I can't. I mean, I can't tell you what that's going to mean in terms of students or dollars, but to suggest that it means nothing, I think is wrong. The Andover helped us get through the process of getting into the 5,000 building. Now, no doubt they were helping themselves because they had to support the school district and the school district wanted us out. There was a lot of moving parts to that equation back then, but we got the benefit of that for the last 4 years. And all they're asking us to do is to pay what we agreed to originally, which is the 60%. I would have liked that they would have moved more quickly on it, but their explanation to me was reasonable. I mean, COVID threw things up. The tornado certainly rearranged their priorities. I don't know enough about what capital improvement projects are in Andover to know whether they could or should have been operating on it more quickly than they are. It's costing their taxpayers more as much as it is our taxpayers. I mean, not quite as much, but there's no benefit to the city in purposely delaying this just to stick Butler Community College with a larger bill. Their taxpayers are going to bear some of that as well. I think the right thing to do is to honor what our original agreement was, which was 60%. And unfortunately, that 60% is more now than it was 4 years ago.
Our agreement was acknowledged 60%. However, the actual contract, which they signed as well, said X amount of dollars plus 10%. I mean, does this contract go on for infinity? So if they don't build it for another 5 years, are we obligated to pay yet more? All I'm saying, Forrest, is the fiscal responsibility has to apply to everyone. And while I absolutely love Andover, I spend a lot of money there. And I'll probably go down Yorktown. That's supposed to be their new downtown street and so forth eventually. And I understand that. I do believe it's a benefit to the college, but I think we have to be reminded of our fiscal responsibility for the entire county, not just for one segment or another, not just for one group or another.
I would maybe reframe what you said or restate like I said. Andover didn't, by the goodness of their own hearts, graciously allow us to move into the 13th building and do the. If you want that building, you got to pay us a 1.1 million plus a 10% balloon if there's interest to have these roads so you can get your occupancy. They weren't just magnanimous with this. That's not why we went to court and had all the problems. It's like, you want to get in there, this is what we require of you, sign it or else, which we did. But now it's like, oh, well, we'd really like another 26%. It's like, if they weren't being magnanimous then, it's not on us to just hand it over now. If you're having a house built, like, hey, I'm gonna pay $1 million for this home, it'll be built the next year, 10% inflation clause, okay. Then the builder gets too busy, does whatever, doesn't do his due diligence. 4 years later, it's like, oh, well, your house is 1.5 million now. Like, well, that's not the contract I signed with you, the builder. The builder has to honor his $1.1 million contract or you litigate. You don't just give the builder another, that's not how it works in the real world. It seems weird now just to do it because it's You wouldn't do that for your own personal home, like, oh yeah, sorry, builder, here's another $300,000 because it's.
No,
right
you
thing to
would
do
think
'cause
that.
you drug your heels.
I have certainly worked with contractors where I've agreed to pay more than I was contractually obligated to because he had a good explanation for why the increase. And to avoid litigation and to keep a relationship with that person. I've absolutely done that before.
I think it's also critical to understand, it's easy to characterize that this all happened in a really short time frame. But those conversations happened over almost 2 years of discussion and negotiation and back and forth. Andover originally told us that it was going to be a 75-25 split, that we were going to have to pay 75% of the cost. And we said, no, we aren't doing that. It was, those negotiations were lengthy. They were laborious, they were painful. And that 60-40 split isn't any different than what they expected with their agreements with the school district, when the school district was building all of their roads and building their buildings. And so they weren't, it wasn't different for us just because we were the college compared to what was happening with the school district. But it was a really difficult process to get to the point where we are now with lots of time and energy and lots of back and forth. So I think it's important for you to understand that we didn't just capitulate and say, oh, well, we'll do 60%. It was almost 2 years worth of work with them to get that process completed and to get to the point where we could occupy those buildings and be in there. So.
Was there no original time limit on how long that contract could extend before it was invalid?
No, you've got the contracts.
Nobody
You got
ever.
the con. You
I got the
contract.
contract. Kim.
Is
I know
there
that.
a
I
termination date
didn't
in there?
see one.
No.
Do you know
Right.
why?
It does show that you guys fiercely negotiated, came to an agreement. Part of that agreement is we have to pay 1.1 million for this road to get our certificate, to let us go around the code process of getting occupancy. They granted us the exception to get it done before the road was done, but you guys fought hard for it, came to a number. We should just stick to that agreement.
I think we came to a percentage.
No, it's the 1.1 plus 10%.
That's what the contract
That's what
says.
Folks from Andover said the other night, and Ray verified it tonight.
It also identified that when the final costs were completed, when they had final costs, the 1.1 million was an estimate at that point in time, given what they had. It states in there, if you read it, it also identifies that when the final costs are determined, the college is obligated for 60%, the city was obligated for 40%. So it identifies final costs.
But the initial agreement was a 60-40 split, and then that
Based on
60-40
those
turned
estimated
into it, and then
costs.
that turned into a number.
Did we ever ask Butler County for any money?
But that number is
Butler County for
1.1
what?
million plus 10%.
For any money
That's
for
what
this
we're
road?
Contractually obligated to do.
There's no dispute about that.
Well,
I mean,
Dr.
that's-
Kroll just framed it in a way that's 60% in the future is what we're.
No, I
We're
think
responsible for 1.1 plus 10%.
right,
That's
but
what
I
we
think
are
the-
legally.
The relevant point, if it matters, is the agreement between the city and the college was a 60-40 split. Then that 60-40 split, when the numbers were put in, turned into our petition that we're going to pay no more than
I think. I'm
X,
saying the
which
exact
was
same thing,
60%. Yeah. Just how you get to
Our
the number.
60-40 split contract is 1.1 plus 10%.
Yes, based on what it was at that point. That's correct.
And that's our current motion to pay what we're contractually obligated to pay. So let's just vote.
Anybody that hasn't spoken yet want to.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Well, yes, Shelby's motion is to essentially not agree to pay anything more than what we're contractually obligated to pay.
And that's the only.
Forrest, I can't believe you would, honestly, I'm trying to be calm about this,
We're not.
but I can't believe you would make such a statement. You're an attorney. You know, contracts are very important. And yet I remember specifically a contract for lease on that building that we just built for the culinary department. And it was okay to have lots of blanks, but I'm not going to go there. I'm going to focus on this.
You just did.
We signed a contract. We agreed to 60% at the time. We agreed to 60% of the cost, and it was all outlined and presented in a contract, which we signed. And then on top of that, we agreed to 10% more if needed or necessary, a maximum of 10% more. And now now you are saying we need to go above and beyond that and grant them whatever they want.
No.
3 times what they
I didn't
need.
say anything about
3
whatever they
times the
want.
100.
Don't put words in my
3
mouth.
times 110%.
Don't put words in my mouth.
You're offering them 400,000 instead of 100.
I explained why I think the right decision is to pay more than what we're contractually obligated. to.
right
Would you
in
let
whose
me
judgment?
finish, Ms. Winslow?
Right.
Let me finish.
Then tell me
No
that.
one disputes what the contract says we're obligated to pay. Ray made that clear. You asked the question, Ray answered it. Shelby asked the question, Ray answered it. You asked the question again and Ray answered it. There is no dispute about what our contractual obligation is. The issue is for me, do I believe that the city has made a compelling argument as to why we ought to pay more based on how this has played out? And in my opinion, yes, they have. And I've explained that, and you don't have to like it. I don't care if you like it or not. You can vote however you want, and I'm going to vote how I want, and we'll decide it that way.
Are you finished? Tell me how you arrive at what's right.
I am not going to explain myself to you more than how I've already explained it. I
You
spoke
just
for, I
said-
spoke for 5 minutes, Julie. Were you not listening to me?
Oh, I heard every word. What I heard is every word. You
Does
think
anyone else-
what's right. Well, I want to do what's right for the entire county, not just one individual.
Then you vote that way.
Thank you. Let's
I'm
get on
not
with
telling
it.
you how to vote.
Let's get on with it.
Does anyone else have any comments?
My last point's to reiterate what I said earlier. I felt no appreciation from the city of Andover for what we provided for them being there. And just, we're told that we don't get them anything unless we magically pay extra for this road, and then we'll suddenly start contributing to businesses.
I mean,
Which is how it was stated. I'm talking to it. And that rubs me the wrong way, and I don't appreciate that. And then you pretty much say, we're no good for you. We don't benefit you. Give us some more money and maybe we'll do friends. It's like, that's how it came across. I think it's.
Mayor Price has been a strong supporter of Butler Community College since he took office.
I didn't say it wasn't.
Well, I mean, it's just for
For what he said at
clarification.
the meeting.
I agree. I understand what he said. I don't think we should infer from that he's not a supporter of the college, because I think he is.
He said the college does not provide taxpayer money. Students spend no money on Andover Road. And he reiterated in text, so that's good job.
I'm still going back to the 60%. I think that's what we have to do.
You guys can vote however you want. You're voting literally to hand over $290,000 more
Not-
than you're obligated. Well, Ray said it and they said it at the meeting, and that's how you guys wish to do as a majority of the board. Let's vote and do it. It doesn't, it's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna be upset either way.
So
I just think it's,
the motion that's pending is to limit the amount to what we are contractually obligated to pay. So a yes vote for Shelby's motion would be voting down what administration is proposing. Just so Ray knows what yes and no means for this.
okay, when you say administration, are you talking about Andover? Or are you talking about our
That's
own?
presented.
Our
administration?
administration
What's
presented
in-
this and recommended approval of
Send the board.
what's been
if you
requested.
vote yes, you're just voting to do what we're obligated by contract only and no more. Let's just take that vote. And if it doesn't pass, let's do another one and just drive on.
Trustee Good,
No,
trustee Brongart as abstaining, trustee Jolly,
No,
trustee Rhodes,
No.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
No,
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, the motion fails 2-4. Would entertain a motion to approve it as presented based on the comments. That seems to be the position of a majority of the board. But if someone would make that motion, we can address it.
I would move the board approve the development of updated petitions for Yorktown Road paving, Yorktown Road waterline, Commerce Street paving, and Commerce Street waterline, with the college being responsible for no more than the agreed 60% share of the final costs, and with Butler's portion of the project to be paid through special assessments over a 20-year period. However, I would like to be able to ask about additional options to the 20-year period pay. And I also would like to have a date in the contract that they need to start the project by a certain date. so that we aren't held out there for 3 or 4 more years.
Again,
I know that's not what the action says, but those would be my conditions.
And
It's a
I,
motion, you need a second.
and I would second that.
I think we need, for clarity's sake, I think we need to revise the motion to specify a no later than date, and I don't know what that would be. I think we also probably want to, I would suggest that we remove from the motion how Butler's portion is to be paid. Correct. And we decide how our portion would be paid after further discussion with the city. We're committing the dollars. We're not necessarily committing how those dollars are going to be paid. Is that doable? Dr. Crowe?
Yes, I think so. Let me ask you one question. Does it make more sense, like in the motion, instead of us trying to identify a start date? Does it make more sense in the motion to say that the revised estimates have to be the guaranteed price somehow, that you won't pay anything more than the revised estimates, or do you want the start date? I know they're talking about trying to start the work in the first quarter of 2024, but they haven't given me any indication of what that exact time frame will be. I know they want to go out to bid again right away. And get the final costs and stuff like that, but
you mean these aren't the final costs?
they're as close as they can be. I mean, they've worked with PEC. These are the current costs, but they have to bid the project, Julie.
Again, okay,
Right.
because
It'd be the same process as 4 years ago.
well, I understand that, but we're committing to a dollar amount again in this.
These are very close estimates that they have.
I think my understanding, and I guess Ray's not here anymore. My understanding is that it would be what we'd be agreeing to tonight would be subject to the same 1% per month escalator until the project is bid. Is that right? Well, maybe I should.
We can't just keep doing that.
No, that's in the original contract. I mean, that's where the 10% from the original contract comes from, is it was a 1% per month, and we're now way more than 10 months down the road.
Right, and the thing is,
That's
we're,
not the same as the 10%.
No, it's 1% per month up to a max of 10.
but
I
we
think
just
that's what
did
it
that
grew.
contract and we've just voided it. The majority will void the contract we've already done, and you're asking for one just like it.
We're not voiding the contract, we're just adjusting the dollar.
Okay, it's the same difference, or
No, it's not the same difference, but
you're not going by the original contract.
dollar amount, yes, that's correct. That's my position. At least the board hasn't decided yet.
Maybe we could put this off till we have an end date in the
I'm
contract.
just sending Jenny a text message right now with the hope that she can give me. So maybe you say, instead of an actual, it has to be started by April 1st. Maybe what you say is that it has to be started before the second quarter of 2024 or the third quarter of 2024. That gives them some leeway when it comes to temperature, to weather and, materials, all those kinds of things. I don't know. You guys can do what you want, but I would try to phrase it so that there's a little bit of leeway for them on, what that hard and fast date is.
4 years into it.
Yeah,
No date.
I think Jenny gave a pretty good explanation for the complications for why that project hadn't been started. They put a lot of work into the presentation, and I think that they were fair in their assessment for what the issues were.
They could put it out to bid and then the contractor couldn't start, which you don't want to mess it all up because of that.
Isn't if the issue's a dollar standpoint, wouldn't we just, I don't want to speak for your motion, but couldn't we just put a cap in that we would authorize X amount either with or without subject to any escalator, in which case if it delays, the delay is not going to cost the college anything else.
We could.
Would that satisfy the concerns under that you had?
Yes, it does. Like I said, I don't want to have an open end agreement that could go another 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Because there could be things. I'd like for them to have to come back to us if something major happens that impacts the cost or Because if we say agree upon 60% share of the final cost, then we're tying ourselves to that no matter what length of time. And as I said, I just want to see what our other options are in lieu of spreading a special for 20 years. As I told you before, if this will go on temp notes, and I don't know what their city's policy is on converting their temp notes into bonding. We don't know what their rates are today. We don't know if they would refinance bonds. You know, we see all those things happening, but we don't know what Andover does in reference to that.
They may
I'm
be-
not trying to be difficult. I'm
they may
just
be in a meeting
saying
tonight,
that
So I don't know whether she can
Once
answer.
you guys agree to the contract as agreed upon, have them reapproach you in 6 months or 9 months or whenever they get their act together on getting it started and say, these are what our actual projected costs are now. This is our ask now,
I think they're at that point.
unless it
I mean, they have new
changes
numbers.
the next year.
Well, they have preliminary, but they don't have any fixed.
But you guys gone out to bid.
Without regard to any.
You
You
guys
guys
do
could
whatever
just
you
say,
want.
this is the maximum we'll
Yep.
give you, period.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
No
can.
escalator of any kind.
We could do that. We could do
I'm not gonna
that.
vote for that, but that'd be an easy way to
I
solve.
mean, yeah, why don't we just modify to where the number that they're estimating, that would be the revised estimate, would be
Not exceed
a
that
not to
period.
exceed number as far as the community college's contribution.
Okay, what's that number?
$400,000.
It is,
You know,
the revised estimate, that we had last time was that our portion of the cost, the total was $2,523,000. Our portion was $1,513,800. That includes the increase, from 4 years ago. That includes the $399. Yes, it does. Not 110.
I assume if you guys do something like this, they are going to have to sign off on it on their end.
We all have to sign the petitions and the developers
Right,
agreement.
They say that's not enough. We want a 10% escalator, then we're back to square one. Well, approved, yeah. But
I
at this
think
point,
there's
they
an
need to take
attorney
it or leave it
general's,
because
there's
they're-
an attorney general's opinion that those petitions can include that it can include that up to 10% crawl. And so I
So
mean,
you're suggesting we agree to 1.5 million plus a 10%
I
crawl?
think the attorney general's opinion is that is embedded in those petitions
So why
potentially,
make
but
A new agreement on our old agreement caps us at 1.2 million. Roughly. So we're agreeing to a 1.5 plus an additional 150,000 if it crawls again. But
I think you guys can state your motion however you want, and I'll convey that to, oh, here.
So I guess, yeah,
if you guys want to be safe, just say, we'll stick to our original agreement. Here's a check for $290,000. Let's get this done. I don't know, it's a lot of scholarship money that could go to kids and it's just gonna go on pavement.
I don't know. I feel like this might have been a little mishandled to start with, but now we're trying to recover the ball after we fumble, I guess. But
How has it been mishandled?
I
Julie?
know that Andover has a beautiful campus, and I don't believe for a minute that it's not a benefit to Andover to have that college there. You know, I'm always encouraging kids that are down in Rose Hill for sure to check out what's being taught there, because we're pretty limited in Rose Hill. But that being said, this is business. You know, I can't imagine ever agreeing to this kind of contract and then redoing it and being mad and saying, well, do it anyway. I guess they were held over the barrel. It sounds like we were held over some kind of a barrel when this all started. And if we didn't go ahead and sign up for it, then we wouldn't be able to use our building. And
I don't know.
We didn't have enough space. We had to get out of the high school. We did not have enough physical square footage in that 5,000.
I know
building
that.
To move
I know that.
everything from the high school.
I know that. She's
To the
already said
5,000
that.
building.
She's already said it.
And you guys
And
said half
so-
a dozen times what the contract
Stop
required.
always
You continue to
defending.
repeat it.
Okay.
And so
Just
Let her
stop.
finish.
all of the services that were at the high school were all of the student services. There were faculty offices there. There
I
were
get
also
that.
classrooms. There was advising, financial aid, all of those. We didn't have room in the 5,000 building to put those in there if we hadn't been able to renovate that building.
And did they say, sign this and you can open quicker?
That's,
Is that pretty much how it was? Go ahead and
well, you
sign
make
this
it sound like it
agreement.
was one meeting.
I'm just
It was 2
asking.
years worth of
Okay,
negotiation.
but is that what happened,
They-
the net effect?
They changed their typical city processes. Because typically what they do is make you build the roads first, do the road improvements before you can do anything else. And they flipped that entire process for us because they knew we had to get out of the high school. We had a limited timeline to vacate the high school because the high school was going to knock down the north end of that building and build a new building. They were going to actually knock down most of that building. So we were under a tight timeline so that we could help Andover finish their project. The city flipped their entire process to allow us to renovate that building and occupy it without building roads, which is completely opposite of what they typically approve. So they were very flexible and agreeable because they knew that we were being forced out of that space by the high school. They were helping us and helping the high school so that we could both meet the project goals.
Did Andover schools have to pay a share?
Yes,
And
they
what did
paid
they
for their
pay?
road development. 60-40 split, I think, is what they paid on all of their road developments around their schools.
I'm ready.
So Jenny says first quarter 2024.
Do you want to revise your motion? Linda?
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead.
I would make a motion that the board approve the development of updated petitions for Yorktown Road paving, Yorktown Road water line, Commerce Street paving, and Commerce Street water line, with the college being responsible for no more than the agreed upon 60% share of the final cost not to exceed $1,513,800. And with Butler's portion of the project to be paid through special assessments over a 20-year period.
Did you not want to address that 20 years as other options?
They'll give us other options before they spread the bonds. If we come up with something different. But we will ask about it.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I second it.
Okay. We've talked this quite a bit unless somebody else has final comments. Vote, Dave.
Okay. Just for point of clarification that I'm wondering what we maybe ought to do is because I know that you made the second motion. I had seconded your original motion.
You can withdraw.
You can withdraw the motion.
I withdraw that first motion.
Okay, okay. I didn't hear that part, sorry.
Oh, gosh.
So, okay,
Sorry.
that I just didn't want to muddle one motion over another motion and then vote.
So that withdraws your second.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, like it mentioned in the minutes that I'm stating that the college is choosing to pay $290,000 more than they are obligated to pay.
And I would like it stated that in the contract, it says 60% share of the final costs.
Not conclude.
Come on, folks. We beat this thing up for.
Well,
15
one
minutes
more
saying
thing
the
to
same
add to the minutes would be exceeding the 10% as by contract was required.
Original contract. There's no 10% in 1,513,800.
Not in the 1.5, no.
I think
The original contract.
Yes.
Trustee Brungard is abstaining. Trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
No,
trustee Shearer,
yes.
trustee Smith.
No. Okay, that passes 4-2. We'll move on to the a couple of personnel items, page 17. and 19 of the board book. I think we can address these collectively if we are so inclined to approve some retirements.
I move that we accept the retirement of Deborah Reeder and of Perry Ireland.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
I think
Any-
Jessica's ready
anyway,
to.
yeah, you want to comment on?
Debbie, right?
Yep.
We want to talk about.
Yeah, as your board book states, Debbie Ryder has been an employee of the college for 14 and a half years, and she works in our financial aid department. She is a great addition to the department. She gives her all to our students and goes above and beyond. And she's a lot of fun to work with. And she's one of those people I thought she's never going to retire, but she is, and she's looking forward to spending time with her children, grandchildren, and her sister who's recently retired.
Thanks, Jessica.
It is Perry Ireland. Oh.
Yep. And Perry Ireland has worked for facilities for 25 years. He started in 1998. He started out in the grounds technician with the grounds department. Then he moved up in 2003 to the building maintenance and operation, and he became our locksmith and door hardware specialist. And he, he's hung about every door in this campus, and he will be missed. So.
Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron.
Do we have a motion in a second?
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, that passes 7-0. Would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move. And I'll second.
Okay, trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, that also passes 7-0. Supplemental information, Dr. Mohammed. KPIs.
Thank you. First of all, I killed my laptop because I didn't charge it, so that's why it's not in front of me. So-
Right.
I was bad. I didn't charge it. What you have in front of you, the cycle begins again this time around with this time around with the completions, and going forward every month or every other month, I'll bring in one or two of the other KPIs till the process ends in March. Today, we're talking about completions. What you will see is 1,327 completions in the academic year 2023. The president just certified it last week as soon as it was done. It is on our website almost instantaneously. You have the website address there. What you also have this time around is just to give you a little more context. You have a list of those completions in those disciplines and the level of the completions. Our completions are listed in three categories: the associate degrees, the certificates, and the short-term certifications. So for each of those disciplines, you see what we have coming from those categories. It's true, the numbers have gone down, but so has enrollment. Completions are a function of enrollment to a large extent. We are trying our best, I think, but what you'll also see, and I didn't do the calculation in front of me, that completions as a proportion of our annual FTE, they have not gone down as much as enrollment has, which tells you that we are, with what we have, we are doing a pretty good job in helping them complete. So with that, I'll take questions you may have. Easy ones, please.
I like, go ahead.
Sorry, do you see that trend continuing? Because it's good that we're holding on to more of them.
So I do. I think we are doing a better job than we were in getting people in, and helping them reach their goals. Yes, I do.
Because we have some pretty sophisticated software that I think is better communicators. between
Absolutely. And
staff and
some very good members of the faculty and staff as well. Absolutely. Not including myself. Giving credit to others.
I like we're ahead just by 1%. I'll take that 1% of the percentage of incoming first time full degree certificate seeking students. It was 61. And previously it had been 60.
That is correct, Mrs. Good. It is, and that's from the last year's update. They did go up. I'll have that update to you in probably about December, and I'm hoping that continues. And you have heard me say almost like a giddy child that 1% goes up, I'm ecstatic.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm hoping for that.
Guess I had a question, I don't know how to phrase it, but our total completions are here and we've declined 4 years in a row. And these people are the total number of people out of all of our completions in a year.
In a year, that's right. Yeah,
So there's not gonna be more completions in December.
that is correct. It's,
So the year
we give you,
total.
there'll be some, we still have some completions in December, but I
But
add them
the
up
next
for
one.
the academic year. Yes. Yeah.
That includes all completions.
All of them, all the associate degrees, certificates and certifications. And I need to add another caveat to that when we talk about completions there, those are the numbers which are given to, accepted and certified by the Kansas Board of Regents. So there may be some other things they don't accept. There are few things always that I argue with them about, but those are the certified numbers.
And some of these completions have extremely small numbers. I assume they also take algebra, with Spanish, a lot of other classes.
Yes.
But this is just the,
This is just the
there's a lot of single digit completions.
These are the degrees. These aren't the classes. These are.
And you're right. I mean, for example, in a thing like, let's pick something, let's say political, social science or political science, 2 or 3 people. Each of that represents, about 60, 65 hours, which includes those things. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Dr. Kroll?
Lots of thank you notes that came from our 4-H students or kids for their scholarships. The calendar, on page 61, take a look at 62, you'll see again the home, games. But call your attention again to the theater production towards the end of the month. And then instrumental music concert towards the middle of October. And then the first vocal music concert the following week. So, mark those on your calendar. And again, as we get closer to those and the box office is open and they're taking reservations for tickets, we're happy to reserve tickets for you if you are interested. You'd have to let Jennifer know, but.
So do we need tickets for the instrumental music concert?
Those productions usually are not sold out. Let me
Okay.
check and see. I don't
Okay.
think that you do. I think you can just show up for instrumental music.
Okay.
Unless they have you reserve tickets just so they have a count on who's coming, but we'll find out.
Okay.
Because I
Thank
can't
you.
tell you. I usually, well, never mind. I reserve tickets, but I can't remember if I do it for instrumental music or not.
Probably the music concert, you need tickets.
Yes, you do, because those will sell out. Mhm.
Okay, no other questions. We are done with the regular portion of our meeting. We do have a little executive session. Would entertain the motion to move into exec session, which is on page 63 of the board book.
And since I'm on that page, Mr. Chair, I move that the board recess into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel pursuant to the open meetings exceptions for matters of non-elected personnel, which if discussed in open meeting might violate their right to privacy, and that the members of the board and President Kim Kroll be included. The open meeting will resume in the Dankert trustee boardroom within 45 minutes.
Will Shelley be joining Zoom?
No, she's not. She's not included in this.
Well, I know her name's not here. I just wondered if she would be by Zoom.
She was for the regular meeting. She was on Zoom.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, we will move in and I'll note the times in and out when we come out as we've done.
I was going to say I have to
in the
run.
past.
Get a sandwich.
Yep. Yes, sir.
I gotta stretch my leg.
There was a study online I ran across of the importance of getting screens out of classrooms because a lot of kids are just. Everything's on your screen and then you go watch YouTube and there's not a lot of
Picture.
hands on there. Yeah, it's weird not having something to stare at this.
Well, we haven't had the whole time.
Oh, really?
Is it just a matter of?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I had it on at the beginning. We probably seemed a lot more involved. if we didn't have anything.
Okay, we are back out of exec session. We went in about 7:20-ish, coming out at 7:53. And no action to be taken, so would entertain a motion to adjourn.
There it is.
Have a motion from Jim. So there we go.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yeah.